Chapter 1800, Exposed. Chapter 1800, Exposed. This day, Su Zimo was cultivating in the straw hut when his ears twitched and he heard a commotion outside. Many chaotic footsteps were speeding over. Here it comes. Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly. Rising, he pushed the door open and walked out. Duan Tianliang was running over, panting with a nervous expression. By the time he arrived before Su Zimo, he was already drenched in sweat. "Boss Su, bad news. The mistress knows about this and is rushing over." Duan Tianliang panted and said. Su Zimo glanced at Duan Tianliang. Duan Tianliang shuddered and waved it off hurriedly. "Boss Su, it wasn't me who leaked the news." The immortal herbs in these spirit fields had grown so quickly and finely that it was only time before the mistress knew about it. Right then, a group of figures appeared in the distance. Their leader was none other than the young mistress of Snow Wind Ridge, Xia Qinying. Commander Liang Qiu was still following closely behind Xia Qinying. He had a dark expression and sneered at Su Zimo. Many medicinal farmers surrounded Xia Qinying and Old Yen was among them, looking at Su Zimo with worried eyes. Xia Qinying had not changed much after a year. She looked at the essence-nourishing grass and rain-frost flower that were about to ripen in the spirit fields and her eyes lit up. She had been here personally a year ago and witnessed with her own eyes that the immortal herbs in the spirit field had been destroyed. However, in just a year, the immortal herbs in the spirit fields had already grown so well. Initially, when Xia Qinying heard the rumors, she merely smiled indifferently and ignored them, thinking that the medicinal farmers were spouting nonsense. However, during this period of time, the news became more and more ferocious. Even the guards of Snow Wind Ridge were discussing it and finally attracted her attention. "What's going on?" Xia Qinying's gaze paused on Su Zimo for a moment before landing on Duan Tianliang's face as she asked slowly. "This." Duan Tianliang stammered and averted his gaze, wiping the sweat on his forehead continuously. "It's me." Suddenly, Su Zimo said, "I once obtained a jade bottle in the starry skies with a drop of spirit liquid in it. I didn't know what it was for. When I used the cloud rain technique, I accidentally shattered this jade bottle. That drop of spirit liquid fused into it and filled these spirit fields. The reason why these spirit fields grew so quickly must be because of that drop of spirit liquid." Su Zimo had expected that this matter would definitely not be hidden. Naturally, he had prepared that explanation a long time ago. Although there were some flaws in his words, it was indeed difficult for others to tell if he was telling the truth. Only Duan Tianliang knew that Su Zimo spent his days cultivating in the straw hut and had never released the cloud rain technique. He was the one who released the cloud rain technique in this spirit field and had never seen any spirit liquid before. However, Duan Tianliang lowered his head in silence and did not expose Su Zimo. "What sort of spirit liquid is this powerful? Just a single drop has increased the growth speed of the essence-nourishing grass and rain-frost flower by 100 times. That's right, immortal herbs that require 100 years to mature actually grew to such a state in a single year." The surrounding medicinal farmers whispered with shocked expressions. "Humph." Liang Qiu sneered, "What a load of nonsense. What spirit liquid can have such an effect to ripen 2 immortal herbs in a year? Just because you haven't seen it before doesn't mean that there isn't one." Su Zimo said indifferently and asked instead, "If it wasn't for the spirit liquid, why don't you explain to me what's going on with these spirit fields?" "You." Liang Qiu grit his teeth and was speechless. The scene before him could indeed be considered as an immortal phenomenon and he could not think of any other reason. Xia Qinying pondered for a moment and asked, "How much more of this spirit liquid do you have?" "That's all." Su Zimo shrugged his shoulders gently. "There's only 1 drop and it's already used." That was the only way to stop others from thinking about it. What a pity. If we have more spirit liquid, the immortal herbs will ripen 100 times faster and we can obtain more essence condensation pills to cultivate. Many medicinal farmers shook their heads and sighed. Xia Qinying looked regretful as well. Humph. Liang Xiu raised his head slightly with an unfriendly expression. He glared into Su Zimo's eyes and sneered, "How can there be such a coincidence in the world? I don't believe that you only have a single drop of spirit liquid. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do." Su Zimo replied indifferently. "Of course there's a way." Liang Xiu's gaze was ferocious as he suddenly strode forward and shouted, "Hand over your storage bag and let me check it." "Don't." Xia Qingying frowned and stopped him hurriedly. However, Liang Xiu was extremely fast. Without any warning, he darted past Xia Qingying and arrived before Su Zimo, slapping his palm towards the latter's waist. The storage bag was indeed hung on Su Zimo's waist. However, it was clear that Liang Xiu was not aiming for his storage bag and he did not hold back either. If that palm landed, Su Zimo's spine would be snapped before the storage bag was even retrieved. In the upper world, a broken spine was considered as a serious injury. If one did not recuperate well, there was a high chance that their lower body would be completely crippled. Liang Xiu's palm strike was sinister. Many medicinal farmers reacted and exclaimed, "It's over. Commander Liang is a grade 4 black immortal. If he attacks with his full strength, Su Zimo will most likely lose half his life. This young man has just ascended and is arrogant and immature. Why did he have to go against Commander Liang? Sigh, what a pity." Everyone felt pity and could not bear it. Piak. There was a crisp sound. Liang Xiu's figure froze instantly. Many medicinal farmers widened their eyes in disbelief. Liang Xiu's palm froze in midair before it even landed on Su Zimo's waist. Su Zimo had suddenly attacked and grabbed Liang Xiu's wrist. Nobody saw how Su Zimo attacked. However, Liang Xiu's wrist froze in midair. No matter how he channeled his strength, he could not descend or move at all. Many medicinal farmers were in an uproar. This young man can actually defend against Commander Liang's attack. That's not right. This young man has just ascended and is only a grade 1 black immortal. How is that possible? Instantly, a commotion broke out in the crowd. Right then, Xia Qingying looked at Su Zimo's face and her eyes lit up. Grade 4 black immortal. Some of the medicinal farmers reacted as well and were shocked, and their spirit consciousnesses scanned Su Zimo. It's only been a year and this little brother has already cultivated to grade 4 black immortal? What cultivation speed is that? Duan Tianliang was the only one in the crowd with a calm expression. Narrowing his gaze slightly with a hint of killing intent, Su Zimo glared at Liang Xiu and asked slowly, "What are you trying to do, Commander Liang?" Chapter 1801, Personal Guard. Chapter 1801, Personal Guard. At that moment, Liang Xiu's face was ashen as he grit his teeth. He felt as though his wrist was locked by an iron hoop and he could not move at all. He felt that his wrist was about to snap, let alone withdraw his palm and break free from Su Zimo's control. Liang Xiu almost fainted from the pain. However, he did not dare to say anything in front of everyone because of his dignity and could only endure it. I just want your storage bag. Hurry and let go." Liang Xiu gritted his teeth and explained with a trembling voice. "Fellow Daoist Su, you should let go." Noticing Liang Xiu's expression, Xia Qingying could not help but say, Liang Xiu's actions were way too reckless. "I'll apologize on his behalf. After all, we're all from Snow Wind Ridge. Please show mercy." "All right." Su Zimo nodded. "Since the mistress has pleaded, I'll let him off." Su Zimo released his palm. Liang Xiu felt as though he was pardoned and retreated hurriedly. He staggered and almost fell as 2 guards supported him. His face was pale and his forehead was filled with sweat. His wrist was behind his back and most people could not see it. Only a few people could clearly see that Liang Xiu's wrist was trembling slightly. Liang Xiu's attack was extremely vicious. Although Su Zimo spared his life on account of Xia Qingying, he made him suffer quite a bit. Liang Qiu's wrist was already snapped. Fellow Daoist Su, you hid your cultivation previously? Xia Qingying asked. Liang Qiu could not help but say, Mistress, this person's background is unknown and he hid his cultivation intentionally. He must have ulterior motives. In my opinion, we should hurry and inform the protector to suppress this person and interrogate him. Liang Qiu had never suffered so much since he ascended and naturally hated Su Zimo to the core. The other guards looked at Su Zimo with hostility and caution as well. No matter what, Su Zimo had just ascended for a year and was still an outsider in their eyes. Xia Qingying did not reply and merely looked at Su Zimo, as though waiting for an explanation. I didn't hide my cultivation. Su Zimo said, something unexpected happened when I was ascending and that's why I descended on the Dragon Abyss Star. As though she understood something, Xia Qingying suddenly asked, which heavenly tribulation did you undergo before ascending? 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. Su Zimo said indifferently. Ah. It's the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. A series of exclamations sounded. Anyone who ascended to the Dragon Abyss Star underwent the 1 of 9 heavenly tribulation. It was said that those who passed the 2 of 9, 3 of 9 and 4 of 9 heavenly tribulations could only ascend to other regions of the Green Cloud County where the heaven and earth essence chi was many times richer than the Dragon Abyss Star. I see. Xia Qingying nodded. Thereafter, she shook her head gently. What a pity. Why? Su Zimo asked. Xia Qingying explained, I heard from my father that there are some immortal sect academies in other regions of Green Cloud County. There's a chance for those who have passed the 2 of 9, 3 of 9 and 4 of 9 heavenly tribulations to join these academies. There's none of that on the Dragon Abyss Star? Su Zimo asked again. Xia Qingying shook her head. The essence chi on Dragon Abyss Star is thin and resources are scarce. Everyone here are living beings abandoned by the exalted immortals after ascending from the lower worlds. Why would there be any immortal sect academies here? Old Yen had said something similar as well. Liang Qiu had just swallowed a medicinal pill secretly and felt the pain on his wrist lessen significantly. When he heard that, he could not help but sneer, even if he joins those immortal sect academies, he'll only be a servant. So what if it's the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation? He can't get rid of his status as a lowlife either. Xia Qingying did not say anything, seemingly acknowledging Liang Qiu's words. Su Zimo frowned slightly. The environment of the upper world was even crueler than he had imagined. After crossing the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation, even if he joined immortal sect academies, he could only be a servant. Let's not talk about that anymore. It's too far away from us. Xia Qingying smiled and looked at Su Zimo. Since you're a grade 4 black immortal, it's not suitable for you to farm here. In Snow Wind Ridge, anyone who can cultivate to grade 2 black immortal is qualified to be a steward. Anyone who can cultivate to grade 3 can become a guard of Snow Wind Ridge. You're a grade 4 black immortal. Xia Qingying was undecided. Under normal circumstances, a grade 4 black immortal of the same cultivation realm as Liang Qiu would naturally have a chance of becoming the commander of the guards of Snow Wind Ridge. However, Su Zimo had only ascended for a year after all. If he were to become the commander of the guards, many people would be indignant and there would be conflicts. At that thought, Xia Qingying said, Fellow Daoist Su, stay by my side from now on and be my personal guard for the time being. Her personal guard. This was a status much higher than ordinary guards. Although Liang Qiu was the commander of the guards in name, he was also Xia Qingying's personal guard. Mistress, no. Liang Qiu said hurriedly, although he's a grade 4 black immortal, his identity is unknown and his background is suspicious. We can't trust him so easily. It's nothing much. Don't doubt the people you use and don't use those you doubt. I trust him. Xia Qingying waved it off and smiled at Su Zimo. Fellow Daoist Su, what do you think? Actually, Xia Qingying's thoughts were simple. If Su Zimo truly had other motives, he would have continued hiding and would naturally not cause such a huge commotion to attract attention. Duan Tianliang nodded repeatedly at the side. In the crowd, Old Yen gestured for Su Zimo to agree as well. Xia Qingying smiled. In name, although you're my personal guard, I won't restrict your freedom. Furthermore, the treatment of a personal guard is similar to a guard commander and is much better than ordinary medicinal farmers. All right. Su Zimo nodded. Xia Qingying had once given him a spirit herb and a dust removal talisman. Su Zimo had always remembered that. Finally, Xia Qingying left reminders before turning to leave. Before long, Xia Qingying seemed to have thought of something and turned around, declaring, "Right, I'll be escorting this year's ripe immortal herbs to Blood Sun Valley in 10 days. Fellow Daoist Su, come along and take a look." With that said, Xia Qingying left with everyone. Liang Qiu followed behind Xia Qingying and stole a glance at Su Zimo with a venomous look in his eyes. Blood Sun Valley? Su Zimo murmured softly in confusion. Duan Tianliang explained at the side, Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions on the Dragon Abyss Star and is also the largest faction in the vicinity. Every 10 years, we collect a batch of ripe immortal herbs in Snow Wind Ridge and head to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills. Oh. Su Zimo frowned and asked, since we have the immortal herbs, why don't we refine them ourselves? Boss Su, you must be joking. Duan Tianliang said, the recipe for the essence condensation pill is in the hands of the immortals of the upper world. We're not qualified to learn it since we ascended from the lower worlds. Furthermore, I heard that whoever dares to leak the recipe for the essence condensation pill will definitely be hunted down by the immortals of the upper world. Chapter 1802, Departure. Chapter 1802, Departure. The immortals of the upper world refused to even impart an ordinary recipe like the essence condensation pill. This meant that most of the cultivation resources of the upper world were under the control of the immortal sect academies. It was almost impossible for living beings that ascended from the lower worlds to attain immortality and grow through their own efforts and talent. For people like Duan Tianliang and Old Yen, although they had only passed through the one of 9 heavenly tribulation, their talent and endowment were definitely top-notch. However, without sufficient cultivation resources, they could only live ignobly on this Dragon Abyss Star. In fact, their cultivation would not increase much after thousands or even tens of thousands of years. As for the descendants of some of the native exalted immortals, they had countless resources and treasures to temper their flesh and establish a foundation the moment they were born. Even if their talent was ordinary, their cultivation realm would increase steadily. Su Zimo thought for a moment and asked again, Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. They have people who can refine essence condensation pills? No. Duan Tianliang shook his head. The 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star were also established by many cultivators of the lower worlds who ascended. They're not qualified to refine immortal pills. In that case, where does Blood Sun Valley obtain their essence condensation pills? Su Zimo asked again. Duan Tianliang replied, I heard they exchanged for them in the Dragon Abyss City. However, I don't know the exact details. The Dragon Abyss City was the largest city on the Dragon Abyss Star and was also the center of all the major factions. That was the only place where there were native immortals. Su Zimo nodded and returned to the straw hut. Actually, his cultivation realm had already recovered to the level 4 Black Essence realm more than half a year ago. That was a grade 4 Black Immortal. This could not be considered as an increase in cultivation. It was just a natural recovery of one's cultivation realm after coming to the upper world and interacting with heaven and earth essence chi. In the past half a year, his cultivation had not increased much. Unlike the lower worlds, even the weakest Black Immortal had a lifespan of 100,000 years. Even in regions with rich heaven and earth essence chi, the time units for living beings of the upper world to cultivate were usually 1,000 or 10,000 years. To the immortals of the upper world, a year felt like 2 hours. The path of cultivation was long and one would not be able to reach the end of it without a resolute heart. 10 days later. In the morning, Su Zimo arrived at the entrance of Snow Wind Ridge. Xia Qingying, Liang Qiu, and a group of Snow Wind Ridge guards arrived one after another. Su Zimo took a glance. There were around 100 guards heading to Blood Sun Valley this time round, and every single one of them rode on tall horses. It was clear that they were superior-class divine steeds. During this period of time, Su Zimo found out from Duan Tianliang that there were only 400 guards in total. For the escort of the 2 immortal herbs this time round, a quarter of the Snow Wind Ridge's guards were mobilized. It was clear how much they valued this trip. Anyone who could become a guard of Snow Wind Ridge were all grade 3 black immortals. Most of the guards had never seen Su Zimo before, and there was a hint of scrutiny and curiosity in their eyes towards this cultivator who had just been promoted to be the personal guard of the young mistress. Xia Qingying was extremely striking in the crowd. She wore a white cloak, and the white horse she rode was extremely divine without any impurities. There was even a single horn on its head. It was a single-horned divine beast. Fellow Taoist Su, this way. When Xia Qingying saw Su Zimo, she waved and greeted him. In Xia Qingying's hands was another divine steed. It was covered in scarlet fur that was smooth and shiny, as though it was stained with blood. It was also extraordinary. This is a scarlet blood horse, a rare divine steed. It has amazing legs. I'll give it to you from now on, she said with a smile. In the upper world, because the laws were more advanced and perfect, space and the ground became extremely firm and tough. On the Dragon Abyss Star, black immortals could fly in the air, but they would not be more than 90 feet tall. Once it exceeded 90 feet, black immortals would endure immense pressure and fall from midair. Cultivators could fly much faster in the air. However, flying through the air took a huge toll on one's essence chi as well. Even a grade 9 black immortal could not fly far. Therefore, almost all the black immortals on the Dragon Abyss Star would make use of various demon beasts and living beings as mounts. Legend has it that only earth immortals could break free from the gravity of the ground. Furthermore, the essence chi in an earth immortal's body was rich and could allow them to fly in the air for a long time. As for heaven immortals, they were powerful existences that could cross galaxies. In the past year, Su Zimo had tried it secretly. Although he was only a grade 4 black immortal, the height of the Green Lotus true body could definitely break through to 90 feet and reach more than 100 feet. Furthermore, the regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus true body were shocking. This regeneration ability was not only reflected in the healing of one's injuries, but also in the recovery of heaven and earth essence chi. In other words, Su Zimo could maintain a high speed flying on the Dragon Abyss Star for a long time. Of course, there was no need for him to reveal such methods. He did not reject the scarlet blood horse that Xia Qingying gave him. The other guards revealed envious expressions. Liang Qiu, who was behind Xia Qingying, was expressionless. His wrist was snapped by Su Zimo and had yet to recover after 10 days. Naturally, Liang Qiu would remember this humiliation deeply and wait for an opportunity to settle things with Su Zimo. Go on. She patted the scarlet blood horse and gestured for it to head over. However, the scarlet blood horse looked at Su Zimo and did not dare to advance. Its hooves rose and fell continuously, seemingly uneasy. Even ordinary mounts of the upper world were sentient. The scarlet blood horse could vaguely sense an aura from Su Zimo that terrified it. Xia Qingying was slightly stunned. What's going on? This scarlet blood horse is quite smart. Is it shy of strangers? Nothing much. In a flash, Su Zimo had already mounted the scarlet blood horse before it could react. Let's go. Su Zimo patted the scarlet blood horse beneath him and smiled gently. The scarlet blood horse shuddered and did not dare to hesitate, leading the way with Su Zimo on its back. How many immortal herbs are we escorting this time round? Along the way, Su Zimo walked side by side with Xia Qingying and asked. Xia Qingying said, including the immortal herbs that matured in your 13 mu of spirit fields, there are more than 100,000 stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower each. Su Zimo nodded. Under normal circumstances, each mu of land could produce 100 essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower. 100,000 immortal herbs meant that 1,000 mu of land would be managed and planted by 100 medicinal farmers. Although the immortal herbs took 100 years to mature, Snow Wind Ridge chose to subdivide them. That way, once every 10 years, they could obtain around 100,000 immortal herbs and head to Blood Sun Valley for an exchange. How many essence condensation pills can I exchange for 100,000 immortal herbs? Su Zimo asked again. Xia Qingying gave a bitter smile. We can only exchange 1,000. So little. Su Zimo frowned. Chapter 1803, Four Great Bandits. Chapter 1803, Four Great Bandits. There were 100,000 stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower respectively, but they could only be exchanged for 1,000 essence condensation pills. The 1,000 essence condensation pills had to be distributed to the 100 Snow Wind Ridge guards for this trip. After giving the 10 stewards, Snow Wind Ridge had to keep a portion for themselves. There was not much that would eventually be left for the 100 medicinal farmers. Every medicinal farmer could only get 3 essence condensation pills. Even the 100 guards for this trip would only obtain 4 essence condensation pills each. That added up to 700 essence condensation pills. The remaining essence condensation pills had to be divided between the stewards and commanders. Even Snow Wind Ridge did not have much left. However, for the medicinal farmers and guards of Snow Wind Ridge, those 3 or 4 essence condensation pills were their only cultivation resources for the next 10 years. Su Zimo frowned. The cultivation environment here was even crueler and worse than he had imagined. Duan Tianliang, Old Yen and the others had cultivated for thousands of years, but there was not much improvement even after 10,000 years. It was not only because the essence chi of the Dragon Abyss Star was thin. Even the most basic cultivation resources such as the essence condensation pills were so rare. Even for Su Zimo, who possessed the Green Lotus True Body, his cultivation realm would increase slowly without sufficient cultivation resources, let alone them. Do you know how many stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower can refine an essence condensation pill? Su Zimo asked. I heard that for ordinary essence condensation pills, 1 stalk of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower is enough, Xia Qingying said. A single immortal herb could refine an essence condensation pill. However, because the recipe for the essence condensation pill was under the control of the major sects and factions, cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds required 100 immortal herbs to exchange for a single essence condensation pill. Blood Sun Valley can't refine essence condensation pills either. Where did they get their immortal pills? Su Zimo thought for a moment and asked again. Xia Qingying said, there's only a single place with all the immortal pills on the Dragon Abyss Star, and that's Dragon Abyss City. That's where many native immortals of the upper world gather, and that's where Blood Sun Valley exchanged their essence condensation pills. Pausing for a moment, she continued, however, I heard that if you want to exchange for an essence condensation pill in Dragon Abyss City, you only need 10 essence nourishing grass and 10 rain frost flower each. Su Zimo frowned. In other words, Blood Sun Valley is using 10 immortal herbs to exchange for essence condensation pills in Dragon Abyss City, and we're using 100 immortal herbs to exchange for them? That's right. Xia Qingying nodded. Su Zimo sneered, Blood Sun Valley sure is evil. A single round trip is 10 times the difference. Su Zimo asked, why does Snow Wind Ridge choose to head to Blood Sun Valley instead of Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills? Fufu. Liang Qiu was jealous when he saw Su Zimo and Xia Qingying chatting merrily at the side. When he heard that, he could not help but stifle a chuckle. How ignorant. Su Zimo ignored that person and did not even look at him. Xia Qingying's expression dimmed as she shook her head. There's nothing we can do about that. It's a long way from here to Dragon Abyss City, and a round trip will take about half a year. During this period of time, we have to pass through thousands of mountains, dense forests, and countless dangerous places. Most importantly, we have to face the looting and killing of the 4 great bandits of the Dragon Abyss Star, Sigh. At that point, Xia Qingying sighed. There are countless small factions like Snow Wind Ridge on the Dragon Abyss Star, but not many of them can reach Dragon Abyss City alive. Even if they enter Dragon Abyss City alive, there's no way they can return alive. The path to Dragon Abyss City is almost impossible. 4 great bandits? Su Zimo murmured softly. Xia Qingying said, there are many bandits on Dragon Abyss Star. Among them, the strongest and most powerful are the 4 great bandits. Actually, these bandits are also cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds. They rely on killing and looting to dominate the Dragon Abyss Star and commit all sorts of evil. Aren't the immortals of Dragon Abyss City going to deal with them? Su Zimo frowned and asked. Xia Qingying shook her head. The immortals of the upper world won't care about our lives. They'll just let us fend for ourselves and kill one another. Furthermore, the lairs of the 4 great bandits are not fixed and they roam all over the place all year round. There's no way to exterminate them. If we can't destroy them in one fell swoop, all the cultivators that attack them will be met with their bloody revenge the moment they rise again. Xia Qingying thought for a moment and continued, I heard from my father that previously, 3 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star joined forces to destroy one of the bandit armies. Although the bandits suffered immense losses, their leader managed to escape. Not long after, he returned and took revenge on the 3 major factions. The 3 factions suffered immense losses. In the end, they were dragged down by the bandit army and annexed by other factions. That's how Blood Sun Valley rose. Su Zimo nodded. In that case, does that mean that the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star possess a certain level of strength such that they can head to Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills? That's right. Xia Qingying nodded. If we can head to Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills and return alive, theoretically, we'll be comparable to the 8 factions. As everyone from Snow Wind Ridge advanced, Su Zimo obtained quite a bit of information from Xia Qingying. Unknowingly, it was already noon. Right then, Su Zimo's ears twitched and a cold glint flashed through his eyes, as though he sensed something. Although they were both grade 4 black immortals, Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu felt nothing. Suddenly, Su Zimo asked, how far are we from Blood Sun Valley? It's less than a day's journey. Xia Qingying said, we'll set off in the morning and will arrive at Blood Sun Valley around evening. It's already noon now and we just need half a day more. Should we stop and rest? Xia Qingying thought that Su Zimo was a little tired and asked. Su Zimo shook his head gently and asked again, will there be any bandits along the way? Even if there are, they are rare. Xia Qingying said, furthermore, these bandits are nothing much. Even if there are dozens or 100 of them gathered together, without any powerful cultivators backing them, they would naturally disperse at the sight of our guards. Fellow Daoist Su, don't worry. This area is still under the jurisdiction of Blood Sun Valley. Typically, the 4 great bandits won't attack casually. Boom. 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 Right then, a slight tremble came from the ground, becoming more obvious and intense. It was as though a massive army was charging over. At that moment, Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu sensed it as well. Someone was here. Be careful, everyone. Xia Qingying raised her arm immediately and hollered softly. The 100 Snow Wind Ridge guards withdrew their dermic treasures from their storage bags and glared into the distance warily. Before long, dust billowed in the distance. From the looks of it, there were at least hundreds of living beings charging over in an aggressive manner. Woo! Before everyone could see who it was, a shuddering wolf howl sounded from the dust with a hint of blood and cruelty. The expressions of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge changed. Chapter 1804, No Mercy. Chapter 1804, No Mercy. It's over, it's over. Liang Qiu's expression was terrible and his eyes shone with fear. As though he was greatly frightened, he was flustered and murmured softly. If that was the case for the guard commander of Snow Wind Ridge, it was even worse for the others. Although Xia Qingying was calm, her face was pale and she looked nervous. Who is it? Su Zimo frowned and asked. One of the 4 great bandits, the evil wolf army. Xia Qingying said sternly, I heard that every black immortal in the evil wolf army has a black scale fiend wolf as their mount and they come and go like the wind. The evil wolf army adheres to the wolf nature and is violent and bloodthirsty. Almost no faction that they target will survive. Back then, it was the evil wolf army that made a comeback and brought down the 3 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star bit by bit. Su Zimo asked, what's the cultivation of the leader of the evil wolf army? Legend has it that he's a grade 8 black immortal. Xia Qingying said softly. Su Zimo said, the evil wolf army at the front has around 500 people. This should only be a small group of the evil wolf army and the leader has not arrived personally. We won't be able to defend against the ordinary commanders of the evil wolf army as well. Xia Qingying shook her head gently. Strange. Suddenly, Xia Qingying frowned and murmured, this is the territory of Blood Sun Valley. Why would the evil wolf army appear? Furthermore, we only have 100,000 immortal herbs for this trip. There's no reason for us to be targeted by a faction like the evil wolf army. As everyone spoke, the army in the distance had already arrived with howls of wolves. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. The leader of the evil wolf army wore bronze armor that was stained with blood and wielded a gigantic halberd. The wolf beneath him had a menacing expression and its eyes shone with a green glint. It bared its mouth and revealed sharp fangs that were filled with saliva. The ferocious wolf was covered in pitch-black scales and looked incomparably tough. It was invulnerable and had a muscular body like a gigantic elephant. The horses of the many guards of Snow Wind Ridge shivered like lambs waiting to be slaughtered in front of the black scale fiend wolves. Howl! The leader raised the halberd in his hands and whistled, looking at Xia Qingying and the others excitedly. As though they had received an order, the 500-strong evil wolf army behind him split into 2 groups and surrounded everyone from Snow Wind Ridge, roaring excitedly. Under the encirclement of the wolves, the horses of the many guards of Snow Wind Ridge could not even stand still and knelt down one after another. Instantly, the Snow Wind Ridge was in chaos. The only thing that could stand was the single-horned divine beast beneath Xia Qingying. Even the scarlet blood horse beneath Su Zimo knelt down. Ha 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 ha. When they saw that, the crowd of the evil wolf army burst into laughter. Rank 5 Black Immortal, it's really over this time round. With a sweep of his spirit consciousness, Liang Qiu detected the cultivation realm of the bronze-armored cultivator leading the evil wolf army and his face turned ashen. Su Zimo could clearly see that apart from the grade 5 Black Immortal leading the group, there were more than 30 grade 4 Black Immortals in the surrounding 500-strong evil wolf army. Be it in terms of numbers or combat strength, the evil wolf army was far superior to everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. Where are you guys going? The bronze-armored cultivator rode on the tall black-scale fiend wolf and looked down at Xia Qingying and the others, asking leisurely with a mocking gaze. I'm Xia Qingying of Snow Wind Ridge. May I know how to address you, exalted immortal? Although Xia Qingying was a woman, she could still maintain her composure. She took a deep breath and asked loudly. On the side of Snow Wind Ridge, although Liang Qiu was the commander of the guards, he was completely at a loss. Su Zimo was the only other one who could maintain his composure. Liang Qiu glanced at Su Zimo and sneered internally, this person has just ascended and doesn't know the ferocity of the evil wolf army. The ignorant are truly fearless. You're Xia Qingying? Indeed, you're quite beautiful. No wonder. Before the bronze-armored cultivator could finish, he paused and gave a strange laugh. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. The bronze-armored cultivator seemed to be implying something. Xia Qingying suppressed the fear in her heart and continued, Snow Wind Ridge is only a small faction in the vicinity. Our territory is filled with cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds. All these years, we have been obedient and worked hard, planting immortal herbs to exchange for essence condensation pills. I know that all of you are also people who ascended from the lower worlds. Exalted immortals, please show mercy and let us off on account that we're all from the lower worlds. Ha 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 ha. The evil wolf army burst into laughter once more. Many of the evil wolf army soldiers had mocking expressions as they looked at Xia Qingying as though they were looking at an idiot. The bronze-armored cultivator sneered, Young lady, you're truly naive. If we let you guys off, we'll have nothing to eat or cultivate with. Xia Qingying said, You guys can also farm spirit fields. Humph. Before Xia Qingying could finish, the bronze-armored cultivator harumphed coldly and interrupted her. We joined the evil wolf army because we don't want to be like you guys and be used as lambs. The immortal herbs ripens once every 100 years on this Dragon Abyss star. We don't have the patience. On the Dragon Abyss star, it was much easier to rob and steal resources than to plant immortal herbs obediently. That was also the reason why there were so many bandits on the Dragon Abyss star and the 4 great bandits was even formed. Exalted immortal, I only have slightly more than 100,000 immortal herbs for this trip to Blood Sun Valley. Xia Qingying said, I'm willing to hand over the 100,000 immortal herbs to all of you, but please spare our lives, exalted immortals. It was fine if the 100,000 immortal herbs were gone. However, Xia Qingying wanted to return with the 100 guards safely. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had not said anything. He did not intend to stay in Snow Wind Ridge for too long. He did not want to provoke a great enemy and trouble for Snow Wind Ridge because of his rash actions. It would be best if the evil wolf army could leave right away after obtaining the immortal herbs. Foo-foo. The bronze-armored cultivator sneered with a cold gaze as he raised the halberd in his hands and said slowly, I'm going to take away the immortal herbs but I'm going to kill as well. Apart from that woman, kill everyone else. Understood. Many of the evil wolf army agreed excitedly with bloodshot eyes. However, everyone on the side of Snow Wind Ridge was devastated. Evil thief. Suddenly, Xia Qingying shrieked with widened eyes, If you really want to kill us, we'll fight to the death and your evil wolf army will suffer considerable losses as well. Actually, everyone from Snow Wind Ridge knew that their clash with the evil wolf army was akin to striking a stone with an egg. The evil wolf army would most likely be able to devour the 100 of them with a single charge. Kill. The bronze-armored cultivator was unmoved and pointed his halberd with a cold voice. Hold on. Right then, a calm voice sounded from the crowd. The bronze-armored cultivator lowered his head slightly and a green-robed man walked out from the crowd of Snow Wind Ridge. He had refined features and looked like a frail scholar. Chapter 1805, Kill You. Chapter 1805, Kill You. Su Zimo walked towards the bronze-armored cultivator at an unhurried pace. Even against the tall and ferocious fiend wolves, he was still calm. Everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was secretly surprised. Everything else aside, his strong mental fortitude and courage alone far surpassed them. The black scale fiend wolf that the bronze-armored cultivator rode on was at the level 4 Black Essence realm. It was a grade 4 black demon. Even Liang Qiu did not dare to approach. Fellow Daoist Su. Xia Qingying's gaze landed on Su Zimo and she suddenly felt a sense of anticipation. But soon, her expression dimmed. The difference between them was too great. If Su Zimo was a grade 5 black immortal, he might have had a chance to negotiate with the other party. However, Su Zimo was only a grade 4 black immortal. This difference in cultivation realm could be equivalent to tens of thousands of years of cultivation on the Dragon Abyss star. Initially, Su Zimo had no intention of stepping in. However, since the evil wolf army wanted to kill them all, he had no choice but to step forward. What are you doing? The bronze-armored cultivator looked down at Su Zimo from above with a mocking expression, as though he was looking at an ant. The green-robed cultivator standing at the front was not even as tall as the legs of the black-scale fiend wolf. As long as he said anything, the black-scale fiend wolf could devour the green-robed cultivator in a single mouthful. However, at that moment, the bronze-armored cultivator was sitting on the black-scale fiend wolf and did not notice that the ferocity in the latter's eyes had vanished. Instead, the grade 4 black demon looked at Su Zimo with confusion and avoidance, as though it was wary of something. Nothing much. Su Zimo raised his head slightly and said indifferently, "Everyone, just disperse after taking the immortal herbs. There's no need to kill everyone." What? As though he had heard the greatest joke in the world, the bronze-armored cultivator looked at the other cultivators of the evil wolf army. The many evil wolf army soldiers exchanged glances before bursting into laughter. Is he an idiot? How can a grade 4 black immortal speak to our boss like that? Perhaps he wants to be the first to die. The bronze-armored cultivator smiled at Su Zimo as well and asked, "I want to kill you all. What can you do to me?" "Kill you." Suddenly, Su Zimo spat out 2 words. The moment he said that, he vanished from the spot and in a flash, released heavenly feet, boundless golden light and other lesser divine powers. Almost instantly, Su Zimo arrived on the black-scale fiend wolf's back. It was too fast. Su Zimo's action had exceeded everyone's expectations. Nobody could react to it either. You. The bronze-armored cultivator was a grade 5 black immortal after all, and his pupils constricted violently when he realized that something was amiss. However, at that moment, he did not even have time to release any divine powers or secret skills, let alone dodge. The bronze-armored cultivator could only wave the halberd in his hands instinctively and thrust it towards the incoming green figure. Time was too short and the bronze-armored cultivator could not even use his full strength for that thrust. However, Su Zimo had prepared for this for a long time. He extended his palm and in a flash, gripped the tip of the bronze-armored cultivator's halberd and pushed forward. Unable to maintain his grip on the halberd, the bronze-armored cultivator let go instantly. The next moment, blood flashed. The bronze-armored cultivator felt a sharp pain in his chest and his eyes widened. Everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was shocked as well. With that attack, Su Zimo used the tail of the halberd to pierce the armor, flesh and blood of the bronze-armored cultivator. A bloodied half of the halberd protruded from the back of the bronze-armored cultivator in a shocking manner. How strong did one have to be to do that? At that moment, Su Zimo had just said the second word of "kill you." In other words, the moment Su Zimo said those 2 words, a bloody hole appeared on the bronze-armored cultivator's body. For the body of a black immortal, this was a fatal injury. The life force of the bronze-armored cultivator's body drained rapidly. The bronze-armored cultivator was slightly dazed before he reacted and wanted to escape from his body with his essence spirit. However, he was way too slow. After Su Zimo pierced him with his halberd, he extended his finger and tapped the glabella of the bronze-armored cultivator gently. Poof! A bloody hole appeared on the bronze-armored cultivator's tough glabella. His essence spirit was destroyed on the spot. The entire process merely took a single breath. It was not because the bronze-armored cultivator was too weak, but because he was caught off guard. In the lower worlds, it was common for people to challenge and kill above their levels. Those who had ascended were also skilled in this method. However, in the upper world, the difference of a single level on the Dragon Abyss star was worlds apart. Furthermore, everyone ascended from the lower worlds and were all paragons and monster incarnates. How much difference could there be between them? Let alone the fact that Su Zimo was an entire level beneath him. Unfortunately, the bronze-armored cultivator did not know that even though they had both ascended from the lower worlds, there was a huge difference between him and Su Zimo. He had only passed through the 1 of 9 heavenly tribulation while Su Zimo had passed through the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. More importantly, Su Zimo's flesh was the only green lotus true body in the world that had already grown to grade 9. Even if the bronze-armored cultivator was on guard, he might not be able to escape from Su Zimo's killing methods, let alone the fact that he was unprepared. Ah! This scene caused an uproar. The people of Snow Wind Ridge were not the only ones, even the surrounding evil wolf army was stunned. Dead. The leader of their army, a grade 5 black immortal, died for no reason. He died in the hands of a grade 4 black immortal. Xie Qingying was shocked as well. At that moment, the decisiveness that Su Zimo displayed was completely different from his usual gentle and elegant scholar self. Roar! The bronze-armored cultivator's mount, the grade 4 black scale fiend wolf, could not help but howl when it sensed that. The black scale fiend wolf leaped up, wanting to push Su Zimo off its back. Humph! Su Zimo rode on the black scale fiend wolf motionlessly and suddenly exerted strength to sink. Howl! The black scale fiend wolf let out a tragic cry. Right in front of everyone, the gigantic black scale fiend wolf was pushed down by Su Zimo. Crack! 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 The jarring sound of bones cracking could be heard. The spine of the black scale fiend wolf was snapped by the terrifying power released by Su Zimo. Thump! The black scale fiend wolf smashed heavily onto the ground and could no longer stand up as dust billowed. Su Zimo pressed his palm on the black scale fiend wolf's head and descended gently. That seemingly casual palm strike shattered the black scale fiend wolf's head, and even its essence spirit could not escape. Kill! The other evil wolf army soldiers reacted and shouted. Su Zimo's gaze intensified as he glared at the rank 4 black immortal who gave the order. In a flash, he vanished from the spot and arrived before the latter, shouting softly, "Immobilize." The moment that person summoned his dermic treasure and was about to smash it toward Su Zimo, he felt a mysterious power wrap around his body and he could not move at all. Lesser divine power, body immobilization technique. Chapter 1806, Defeat. Chapter 1806, Defeat. The body immobilization technique was comprehended by the Dragon Phoenix true body through the Saber Emperor's inheritance of the Sea Calming Manual. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body had vanished, the lesser divine power was successfully inherited after the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit fused with the Green Lotus essence spirit. Among the same cultivation realm, the restriction of the body immobilization technique was not obvious. In fact, it was less than a breath. However, that momentary pause was enough for Su Zimo. Swoosh! A green streak of light charged in front of the grade 4 black immortal and pushed forward with his knees, colliding against the latter's chest with immense force. The terrifying burst power smashed the grade 4 black immortal into pieces and his flesh splattered everywhere. Immediately after, Su Zimo barged into the crowd and charged forward. None of the black immortals of the evil wolf army could stop him. Instantly, the evil wolf army fell into chaos. Xie Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge were dumbfounded. Among them, there were also some cultivators who were proficient in body tempering. However, after they ascended to the upper world, due to the lack of heaven and earth essence qi, it became extremely difficult for them to even raise their cultivation, let alone refine their flesh. None of them had ever seen such domineering methods. In the blink of an eye, a grade 5 and 4 black immortal of the evil wolf army were dead. It was like a humanoid dermic treasure that was extremely sharp and no one could match its sharpness. At that moment, Xia Qingying snapped out of her stupor and shouted hurriedly, "Snow Wind Ridge guards, listen up. Attack with all your might and help fellow Daoist Su kill the enemies." "No, mistress." Earlier on when he was surrounded by the evil wolf army, Liang Qiu did not say anything and hid in the crowd. But now, he suddenly jumped out. Liang Qiu gulped. "Mistress, don't be rash. The evil wolf army is violent and bloodthirsty, seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. If you kill the cultivators of the evil wolf army, they will definitely take revenge. We've already killed someone. Do you think we'll be able to avoid this?" Xie Qingying glared at Liang Qiu. Liang Qiu replied hurriedly, "Su Zimo was the one who killed them. He had just ascended and stayed in Snow Wind Ridge for a year. He's not considered as one of us." As long as we draw a clear line with him, we can. What did you say? Xia Qingying was enraged and looked at Liang Qiu in disbelief, shouting, Su Zimo is someone of Snow Wind Ridge. You have to understand that if not for him, all of us, including you, would have died under the butcher's knife of the evil wolf army. Her words were extremely harsh and she did not give Liang Qiu any face at all. Liang Qiu stammered and blushed. Commander Liang, aren't you betraying Guard Su by doing this? That's right. Guard Su is killing the enemies at the front while we hide at the back and watch idly. Isn't that way too heartless? Some of the guards who had followed Liang Qiu for many years could not stand it anymore and whispered. Liang Qiu's expression was terrible. Part of the reason why he stood out and wanted to abandon Su Zimo was because he had a personal feud with the latter. On the other hand, he was indeed afraid of the evil wolf army's revenge. Xia Qingying said in a deep voice, Everyone, listen to my orders. If we can't defeat the evil wolf army this time round, all of us will die here. Kill. Many Snow Wind Ridge guards hollered and summoned all sorts of black-grade dermic treasures, divine powers and immortal arts to charge into the battlefield. Actually, even without the addition of the people from Snow Wind Ridge, the evil wolf army was already on the brink of defeat. They could not do anything to Su Zimo. Su Zimo's movement technique was extremely agile and he twisted and turned in the crowd, as though he possessed an indescribable spirit perception that could avoid most dermic treasures and divine powers. Some dermic treasures were about to strike him. Out of nowhere, he took out a handful of golden yellow sand and circled around him, creating an impenetrable storm. Although the yellow sand looked ordinary, their dermic treasures and divine powers could not penetrate it. The divine powers dissipated when they struck it. After the collision, the dermic treasures fell from midair without any resistance. There was no way the bandits knew that this was an utmost treasure derived from the Grade 9 creation green lotus. The Nine Heavens living soil had a myriad of transformations and shocking defense. Notwithstanding the fact that almost all of them had inferior black-grade dermic treasures. Even superior or supreme black-grade dermic treasures could not shake the Nine Heavens living soil. The ferocity in the eyes of the evil wolf army cultivators gradually disappeared. After a short battle, it turned into confusion and eventually fear. They could not injure Su Zimo at all. Instead, he killed a few Grade 4 black immortals in succession. Even a Grade 4 black immortal would not last more than 2 or 3 rounds against Su Zimo. Right then, Xia Qingying led everyone from Snow Wind Ridge to join the battlefield and charge over. In reality, although Xia Qingying and the others had the advantage in numbers, they were not as terrifying as Su Zimo in the eyes of the evil wolf army. However, at that moment, the morale of the evil wolf army had already dispersed. They broke down completely after being charged by the people of Snow Wind Ridge and could no longer hold on. Dangerous waters. A Grade 4 black immortal of the evil wolf army shouted. It was a code language of the bandits for everyone to retreat and leave. Without hesitation, the bandits of the evil wolf army rode on their black-scale fiend wolves and fled from the battlefield into the distance. Even without the urging of the evil wolf army, the black-scale fiend wolves they were riding on fled for their lives without turning back. Although they were demon beasts and had innately strong bodies, they were extremely weak against the green-robed cultivator. The strangest thing was that the green-robed cultivator exuded an aura that made them shudder. Against that aura, they even had the urge to sprawl on the ground. Although the evil wolf army arrived quickly, they fled even faster. Like the wind, dust billowed as they fled in all directions, leaving dozens of corpses on the ground. Su Zimo sneered. Just as he was about to chase after them, Xia Qingying stopped him. Fellow Daoist Su. Xia Qingying ran over hurriedly. Forget it, don't chase after a cornered enemy. These black-scale fiend wolves are extremely fast. Even my mount, the one-horned divine beast, won't be able to catch up to them. If even the one-horned divine beast could not do it, the other mounts of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge were even worse. At that moment, they were still sprawled on the ground and did not dare to get up. Although flying through the air was fast on the Dragon Abyss Star, it took a huge toll on one's body and one would not be able to sustain it for long. Let's hurry and tidy up the battlefield and leave this place lest the evil wolf army returns. Xia Qingying looked at Su Zimo with an inquiring gaze. Unknowingly, she had already regarded Su Zimo as the commander of this trip. You guys leave first. I'll follow and take a look. Su Zimo smiled and in a flash, sprinted in the direction where the evil wolf army disappeared at a speed that did not seem fast. Sigh. Just as Xia Qingying was about to speak, Su Zimo had already left. Humph, how hypocritical. Liang Qiu sneered, what a joke. Does he think that he can outrun the black-scale fiend wolves with just his feet? Mistress, that man is just pretending. You don't have to bother about him. Chapter 1807, Qin Xianyang. Chapter 1807, Qin Xianyang. Xia Qingying glared at Liang Qiu coldly and ignored him. She had a deep impression of Liang Qiu's cowardice earlier on. Although Liang Qiu was talented and his cultivation realm increased rapidly and his combat strength was considered as one of the upper echelons of Snow Wind Ridge, his guts and boldness were truly unsuitable for him to be the commander of the guards of Snow Wind Ridge. At the very least, Su Zimo was much stronger than Liang Qiu in every aspect. Although Xia Qingying did not say it, she had a plan in mind. Upon returning to Snow Wind Ridge, she would remove Liang Qiu from his position as the commander. After Xia Qingying's cold reaction, Liang Qiu could vaguely guess that her impression of him was probably extremely bad. Mistress, what should we do now? A guard of Snow Wind Ridge walked forward and asked. Let's tidy up the battlefield and return to Snow Wind Ridge immediately. Xia Qingying waved her hand and ordered. Many cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge agreed readily and began cleaning up the battlefield. In this battle, none of the cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge died. At most, they were only slightly injured. The moment they joined the battlefield, the evil wolf army was already fleeing in defeat. In this trip, Su Zimo killed a total of 52 soldiers from the evil wolf army. Among them was the leader of the evil wolf army, a grade 5 black immortal, and 13 grade 4 black immortals. Many Snow Wind Ridge guards collected the dermic treasures and storage bags of the evil wolf army and handed them to Xia Qingying. Those items were quite a gain for Snow Wind Ridge. Most of the black immortals in Snow Wind Ridge did not have black grade dermic treasures yet. Ta! 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 Right then, the ground shook violently once more and dust billowed in the distance. Another army was charging over. Not good. Liang Qiu's expression changed starkly as he exclaimed, the main force of the evil wolf army must be here for revenge. I knew it. Su Zimo truly caused a huge trouble for us. We're doomed. When the other Snow Wind Ridge guards heard that, their faces were ashen with fear. However, Xia Qingying was in no hurry to make a judgment as confusion flashed through her eyes. I got it. Su Zimo wasn't chasing after the escaping evil wolf army at all. He fled right away instead. Liang Qiu said hatefully, he knows that he's in big trouble. That's why he escaped and pushed the blame to our Snow Wind Ridge. What Commander Liang said is not impossible. That's right. No matter what, Su Zimo has only ascended for a year and doesn't have any feelings for our Snow Wind Ridge. It's only logical for him to leave just like that. Earlier on, I was wondering why Su Zimo wanted to catch up to the evil wolf army since it was impossible for him to do so. Now I know why. Upon hearing Liang Qiu's words, many of the Snow Wind Ridge guards wavered. Don't talk nonsense. Xia Qingying hollered and looked at the dust in the distance. These people should not be from the evil wolf army. Everyone, there's no need to panic. It was already strange for a small squad of the evil wolf army to appear in this area. Why would the main force of the evil wolf army appear? Furthermore, even if the evil wolf army wanted revenge, they could not have arrived so quickly. The moment the evil wolf army left, this army appeared. Moreover, the direction that the army came from was Blood Sun Valley. Xia Qingying already had a vague guess. Before long, everyone caught sight of the flag waving in the army. Indeed. Xia Qingying nodded. The flag was completely black with a blood-colored sun tattooed in the middle, resembling a rising sun. That was the flag of Blood Sun Valley. Many of the Snow Wind Ridge guards heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the flag. Liang Qiu seemed to have forgotten what he had just said as he smiled embarrassedly. Thankfully, it was just a false alarm. Before long, the army arrived before everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. At a glance, there were more than 1,000 of them and they were fully equipped. Their leader was a young man in silver-white armor. He held a silver spear in his hands and his black hair was tied up. His face was thin and his eyes were long and narrow, giving off a sinister feeling. It's the young master of Blood Sun Valley's Valley Master, Qin Xianyang, a dignified grade 6 black immortal. Liang Qiu whispered when he saw that person. This was the first time that some of the Snow Wind Ridge guards had seen this person and they revealed looks of surprise and reverence. Grade 6 black immortal. Even the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge was only a grade 6 black immortal. It was said that the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley was a grade 8 black immortal. Qin Xianyang led the army here and looked at the corpses of the evil wolf army not far away with a cold glint in his eyes. Young Master Qin, why are you here? Xia Qingying welcomed him with cupped fists. Qin Xianyang smiled at Xia Qingying with a bright gaze. Qingying, I've told you before that there's no need to be so distant between us. Just call me Xianyang. Many guards could tell that the young master of Blood Sun Valley looked at Xia Qingying differently. There had long been rumors in Snow Wind Ridge that this young master of Blood Sun Valley had feelings for their young mistress. However, no one was certain. Xia Qingying hesitated for a moment before nodding. Xianyang. Yes. Qin Xianyang nodded slightly before saying slowly, during this period of time, my subordinate reported that traces of one of the 4 great bandits, the evil wolf army, have appeared in the vicinity of Blood Sun Valley. Today happens to be the day when Snow Wind Ridge comes to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills. I was worried that something might happen to you, so I led the army to receive you personally. To think that I was still a step too late. At that point, Qin Xianyang looked at the dozens of corpses of the evil wolf army with a cold expression. However, there was a strange look in his eyes. The evil wolf army has truly targeted you guys. Riding on a horse, Qin Xianyang came before Xia Qingying slowly and asked with concern, Qingying, are you hurt? I'm fine. Xia Qingying shook her head. The guards of Snow Wind Ridge are fine this time round as well. There were no casualties. Oh. Seemingly surprised, Qin Xianyang asked curiously, the evil wolf army is violent, bloodthirsty, and powerful. To think that you guys would be able to kill dozens of them. I'm truly impressed. Qin Xianyang swept his gaze across everyone from Snow Wind Ridge and frowned slightly. Strange, among the guards on this trip, the strongest are you and this commander who are only grade 4 black immortals. How did you guys kill that grade 5 black immortal of the evil wolf army? Qin Xianyang asked again. Just as Xia Qingying was about to reply, her heart skipped a beat and she asked, how did you know that he's a grade 5 black immortal? If a cultivator was alive, his spirit consciousness could detect the other party's cultivation realm. However, it was difficult to detect a dead person accurately. It was truly strange that Qin Xianyang could accurately say that the leader of the evil wolf army was a grade 5 black immortal. Chapter 1808, Tracking. Chapter 1808, Tracking. Qin Xuanyang's expression was unchanged as he explained in a natural manner, before this, the guards of Blood Sun Valley fought with this evil wolf army and we lost a few guards. The remaining people returned to Blood Sun Valley and told me that the leader of this evil wolf army is a grade 5 black immortal. I see. Xia Qingying's expression softened as she nodded. Earlier on, an extremely terrifying guess flashed through her mind. But now, it seemed like she was thinking too much. Qingying. When Qin Xianyang saw Xia Qingying frowning in deep thought, he smiled and called out softly, "You haven't answered my question. From what I know, there are hundreds of people in this evil wolf army. Be it in terms of numbers or combat strength, they are far superior to you guys. How could?" The scene before him was indeed incomprehensible. On the battlefield, there were dozens of corpses of the evil wolf army lying everywhere. However, everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was almost completely fine. Xia Qingying said, "One of my personal guards attacked and killed those bandits of the evil wolf army. He led us to fight back the evil wolf army." "Oh?" Qin Shuanyang's eyes lit up as he asked, "Your personal guard? Why haven't I heard you mention him before? What's his cultivation realm? Grade 5 or 6 Black Immortal?" Qin Xianyang asked a few questions in succession. Xia Qingying frowned slightly. Right then, Liang Qiu remarked sourly at the side, "Young Master Qin, you've overestimated him. He's only a Grade 4 Black Immortal." Grade 4 Black Immortal? A cold glint flashed through Qin Shuanyang's eyes. If this person was a Grade 4 Black Immortal, he had not overestimated this person. Instead, he had actually underestimated this person. Qin Xianyang looked at Liang Qiu deeply. He caught the displeasure and jealousy in Liang Qiu's tone. Qin Xianyang cupped his fists towards Liang Qiu. "Commander Liang, you must have played an important role in how Snow Wind Ridge was able to defeat the evil wolf army this time round." "And no." Liang Qiu felt flattered and answered hurriedly. Notwithstanding the fact that Qin Xianyang was the young master of Blood Sun Valley, it was also an honor for a Grade 6 Black Immortal to praise him as such. Liang Qiu coughed gently and straightened his back unconsciously. "It's all thanks to the mistress's leadership that we were able to defeat the evil wolf army this time round. Naturally, it's not just one person's credit for Snow Wind Ridge's combined efforts." Qin Xianyang asked in a seemingly casual manner, "Who is he? Why haven't I heard of him before?" "Humph." Liang Qiu said, "He's just a lowlife who has just ascended. He's only been in Snow Wind Ridge for less than a year. He..." Cough. Liang Qiu was about to continue when he was interrupted by a gentle cough from Xia Qingying. Xia Qingying cupped her fists towards Qin Xianyang and smiled. "Thank you for your help this time round, Xianyang. We have to return to Snow Wind Ridge and inform Father about this so that he can make preparations." Qin Xianyang pondered for a moment. After all, many of the evil wolf army escaped. "I'll be worried if you guys return now. Qingying, follow me back to Blood Sun Valley. Nothing will happen with me escorting you guys." Xia Qingying hesitated. The purpose of her trip to Blood Sun Valley was to exchange for essence condensation pills. If she returned empty-handed, the medicinal farmers in Snow Wind Ridge might be disappointed. However, she was worried about Snow Wind Ridge. Qin Xianyang seemed to have read Xia Qingying's mind and smiled gently. "Qingying, don't worry. I can send a Grade 5 Black Immortal under my lead to report to Snow Wind Ridge and have them make preparations. If the bandits truly invade, he can stay in Snow Wind Ridge to help defend." Thereafter, before Xia Qingying could reply, Qin Xianyang glanced sideways and said in a deep voice, "Tan Hong, report everything that happened here to Snow Wind Ridge." "Understood, young master." A muscular man in black martial arts attire cupped his fists towards Qin Xianyang and rode his horse towards Snow Wind Ridge. "Let's go, Qingying." Qin Xianyang turned slightly and made an inviting gesture. Xia Qingying frowned slightly and was still hesitant. Pondering for a moment, she beckoned for 2 Snow Wind Ridge guards and instructed softly, "The 2 of you, stay in the vicinity and hide carefully. If you see Guard Su return, take him with you to Blood Sun Valley." Xia Qingying was still worried about Su Zimo. She was not worried about Su Zimo's safety. However, she thought that if Su Zimo were to return here, he would definitely need someone to guide him. After all, Su Zimo had never been to Blood Sun Valley. "Mistress, what if Guard Su doesn't return? A guard muttered softly, I think what Commander Liang said makes sense. Guard Su might have escaped out of fear of the evil wolf army's revenge. Don't think too much. Xia Qingying berated in a low voice, stay here and guard until he returns. If he doesn't. Pausing for a moment, she continued, when I return from Blood Sun Valley, I'll naturally come back for you guys. It'll just be tougher on the two of you. Understood. The two Snow Wind Ridge guards agreed. After making those arrangements, Xia Qingying turned to Chen Xianyang and smiled. Xianyang, let's go. All right. Chen Xianyang nodded slightly and led the army of more than 1,000 people from Blood Sun Valley, escorting the 100-odd people from Snow Wind Ridge towards Blood Sun Valley. After Su Zimo left the line of sight of Xia Qingying and the others, he began to fly through the air. His speed increased exponentially as he chased after the few escaping evil wolf army soldiers. Since he had already attacked this time round, he would not leave any trouble for himself or Snow Wind Ridge. He had to kill all of them to prevent future troubles. Earlier on, Su Zimo could not attack with his full strength in front of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge and did not reveal many of his methods. Now that the evil wolf army was fleeing in all directions, he would have to wait for them to regroup if he wanted to wipe them out. Therefore, Su Zimo merely watched the few Grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army closely and hung back slowly, in no hurry to attack. He was certain that the evil wolf army must have some means of communication that could gather the survivors who had escaped. The few Grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army were extremely wary. As they fled, they changed their routes countless times and even stopped from time to time to check out their surroundings. True enough. A long time later, after ensuring that they were out of danger, the few of them stopped in their tracks and took out a talisman from their storage bags. After writing a few words on it, they tore it apart. The talisman soared into the skies and released a divine light in midair before dissipating rapidly. The few Grade 4 black immortals jumped down from the black scale fiend wolves with pale expressions and panted slightly, as though they still had lingering fears. That person shouldn't be chasing us, someone said. Don't worry, no matter how fast that person is, he can't compare to the strength of our black scale fiend wolves. Even if he had chased after us, we should have long lost him. Another person said. Chapter 1809, Complete Annihilation. Chapter 1809, Complete Annihilation. The few Grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army did not notice that the person they were trying to shake off was approaching rapidly without them noticing. Even the black scale fiend wolves with their keen spirit perception did not notice it, let alone them. Su Zimo had completely retracted his aura and was emitting the aura of plants. Hidden in the grass that was more than half the height of a human, he swayed with the plants and was almost one with his surroundings without any flaws. Su Zimo's movement technique was agile as he climbed up a gigantic ancient tree swiftly. He sat on a branch and looked down at the few evil wolf army soldiers not far away. At that distance, Su Zimo could hear their conversation clearly. We've truly suffered a huge loss this time round. A large-eared cultivator grit his teeth and said hatefully. A bald man cursed, bloody hell, who would have thought that there would be such a troublesome nut to crack in Snow Wind Ridge. Our boss was killed by that lad. Boss Hook was careless. If it was a normal fight, that lad would definitely not be a match for Boss Hook. Another person said. The large-eared cultivator asked, what should we do now? What else can we do? Let's wait for the others to gather first. The bald man could not help but curse again, bloody hell, when has our evil wolf army ever suffered such a huge loss? It's all Blood Sun Valley's young master's fault. That Chen Xianyang. The large-eared cultivator grumbled, he wanted to play the hero to save the beauty and win her heart. He even wanted us to put on a show with him. But now, we didn't get a single immortal herb from Snow Wind Ridge. Instead, we suffered heavy losses. Su Zimo was initially on the ancient tree with a relaxed expression and closed eyes. At that point, he suddenly opened his eyes with a cold glint. So, it's Blood Sun Valley's doing. Su Zimo sneered internally. It was no wonder why the evil wolf army would appear in this area. It was no wonder why it was such a coincidence that they encountered the obstruction of the evil wolf army just as they were rushing to Blood Sun Valley today. Another person said, in my opinion, given Shen Xuanyang's cultivation, status, and the strength of Blood Sun Valley, he should have just forced himself on that young lady. How simple would that be? The bald man sneered, the father and son of Blood Sun Valley are hypocritical and love to play dirty. There have been countless factions that have been schemed against by them over the years. I heard that the reason why the three major factions were replaced by Blood Sun Valley back then was because they fell into the Valley Master's trap. In that short period of time, scattered evil wolf army soldiers had already arrived one after another to rendezvous with the large-eared cultivator, bald-headed man, and the others. By dusk, all the cultivators of the evil wolf army that escaped were gathered. The bald man counted with a dark expression and said hatefully, "Bloody hell. Including Boss Hook, we lost 52 brothers. We can't let this matter rest just like that. That's right. We'll make Snow Wind Ridge pay with blood. The evil wolf army is going to turn Snow Wind Ridge into rivers of blood and kill every single one of them." Many evil wolf army soldiers shouted murderously. The bald man said in a deep voice, "Everyone, don't be anxious. I heard that the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge is rather capable and is a grade 6 black immortal. Given our strength, it'll be difficult for us to go against him. I'm guessing that if we want to destroy Snow Wind Ridge, we'll have to ask a leader of our evil wolf army to do it. There's no time to lose. Let's head back now," the large-eared cultivator said. "Since there's no time to lose, how about I send you guys on your way?" Right then, a voice sounded from the chaotic crowd, clearly out of place with the surrounding clamor. The bald man's expression changed as he surveyed his surroundings and shouted, "Who was it? Who spoke?" "Me." In a flash, Su Zimo floated down from the ancient tree and stood in midair quietly. His blood chi surged and his eyes shone with a divine light. Since Su Zimo wanted to kill all of them this time round, he did not hide the bloodline of his green lotus true body. "It's him. When did that person catch up?" The expressions of many evil wolf army cultivators changed as they exclaimed. The bald cultivator felt his limbs go cold, but he could still maintain his composure as he shouted, "Brothers, don't panic. Let's join forces and fight this person once more. I don't believe that with more than 400 brothers, we can't defeat a lone man like him." All these years, the hands of the evil wolf army had been stained with countless blood and all of them were bloodthirsty. At that point, many of the evil wolf army soldiers had ferocious gazes as they summoned their dermic treasures and channeled their divine powers and secret skills to release a ferocious attack. Swoosh! In a flash, Su Zimo released divine powers and dermic arts such as boundless golden light at an astonishing speed and dodged most of the dermic treasures. Before the remaining dermic treasures could strike him, he waved his sleeves and suddenly waved out a handful of yellow sand, devouring the dozens of incoming dermic treasures. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Ever since he obtained the 9 Heavens living soil, he had only used it for defense and had never used it for offense. Right now, the 9 Heavens living soil enveloped dozens of inferior black-grade dermic treasures and Su Zimo's spirit consciousness seemed to fuse with every single grain of 9 Heavens living soil. With a single thought from him, the 9 Heavens living soil shone with a golden light and yellow sand surged. Every single speck of yellow sand released a powerful force that exerted strength and rubbed against one another. The dozens of dermic treasures were ground into sludge by the 9 Heavens living soil and scattered down from midair. Pust! Many evil wolf army soldiers gasped when they saw that. Even Su Zimo was shocked, let alone them. The 9 Heavens living soil had unparalleled defense. To think that it could release such terrifying lethality when used for offense. Furthermore, this was a dark-grade dermic treasure. If any living being were to fall into it, they would be ground into ashes by the yellow sand. With that thought, Su Zimo controlled the 9 heavens living soil and sucked more than 10 black-scale fiend wolves into it. Howl! The black-scale fiend wolves only had time to let out a tragic cry before they were crushed into blood mists by the yellow sand and died. Even those tough scales could not withstand the friction of the yellow sand. The 9 heavens living soil was extremely extraordinary and killed more than 10 black-scale fiend wolves. However, there was no blood on the yellow sand and it was still golden and shiny. Escape! When the evil wolf army saw that, they broke down once more and fled in all directions. Humph! Standing in midair, Su Zimo's gaze was like lightning as he said indifferently, "It's rare for us to be together. Don't leave." He conjured sword arts with both hands and pointed forward. TSK. 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 Suddenly, countless sword chi descended from the firmaments in a vast expanse of white. Like a torrential downpour, they poured down and enveloped the many evil wolf army soldiers. Heaven-slaying sword art. Chapter 1810, A Windfall. Chapter 1810, A Windfall. The heaven-slaying sword art was a top-tier immortal art of the upper world to begin with. It was only because of other reasons that he ended up in the lower world. The true terrifying might of the sword art was only revealed when it was released with heaven and earth essence chi. The sword chi was dense as rain and sharp as it buzzed and trembled. Descending from the skies, it enveloped more than 400 evil wolf army soldiers and no one was spared. Poof! 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 The sword chi pierced the bodies of the evil wolf army and let out a jarring sound, cutting through their flesh cleanly like a sharp blade. Most of the evil wolf army were grade 3 black immortals. Even a body-tempered level 3 black immortal could not defend against the sharpness of the heaven-slaying sword chi. Even the fiend wolves with tough scales were mostly killed by the torrential sword chi, let alone them. Actually, almost all the living cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star had ascended from the lower worlds and had limited knowledge. They did not recognize the creation green lotus at all, let alone the heaven-slaying sword chi. By the time the bandits realized that they could not defend against this person's sword chi, it was already too late. Such a ferocious attack was devastating for the evil wolf army. Almost the moment the heaven-slaying sword chi descended, more than half of the evil wolf army was pierced by the sword chi and died on the spot. The sword rain descended and created white mists on the ground. However, before long, the white fog was dyed red by the blood that splattered everywhere. Only a few grade 4 black immortals managed to survive with their dermic treasures, armor, divine powers and immortal arts, wanting to break out of the range of the heaven-slaying sword chi. Su Zimo looked down from above and sneered. Closing 2 fingers, he conjured another sword art and slashed forward. A shuddering killing intent burst forth and the ground shook. When the earth's killing intent is released, the dragon snake shall rise. Initially, only the martial Dao prime body comprehended the earth-slaying sword art. However, the martial Dao prime body smelted all divine powers and was not reliant on this sword art. He rarely released it either. The sword art could only unleash its greatest power on the green lotus true body. Therefore, before he ascended, the martial Dao prime body imparted the earth-slaying sword art to the green lotus true body. Roar! Pust! Suddenly, a gigantic 5-clawed divine dragon descended from the firmaments. It was filled with a chilling killing intent and was completely formed from sword chi. The ground split open and a soaring serpent bathed in scarlet lava soared into the skies. Its body burned with flames as it reared its head and hissed. Su Zimo conjured a sword art and slashed forward, releasing the dragon snake. Looking at the 2 terrifying divine beasts, the remaining evil wolf army soldiers had ashen expressions and their eyes were filled with deep despair. The divine dragon and soaring serpent circled around the evil wolf army and started a massacre, chasing after some of them who managed to escape from the heaven-slaying sword rain. Ah! 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 Tragic cries sounded one after another. The remaining evil wolf army was severely injured to begin with. Now that they were hunted by the divine dragon and soaring serpent, they were almost helpless. The sword rain poured down and a blood mist spread. The two divine beasts, the divine dragon and soaring serpent, galloped through the sword rain. In the misty rain, a green-robed man stood in midair with one hand behind his back with a calm expression. It was like a painting that felt surreal. About half an hour later, there was no longer any sound from the battlefield. The rain stopped and the divine beasts dispersed, leaving only corpses on the ground. Including the 400-odd black-scale fiend wolves, the remaining evil wolf army were all dead without exception. Exhaling gently, Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness and collected all the dermic treasures of the evil wolf army. Although he had no use for those dermic treasures, they seemed to be extremely valuable on the Dragon Abyss Star. Su Zimo collected the storage bags of the evil wolf army and opened them up. Almost all of those storage bags contained essence nourishing grass, rain frost flower and many essence condensation pills. Those were extremely precious cultivation resources on the Dragon Abyss Star. Su Zimo gathered the immortal herbs and essence condensation pills in the storage bags and made a rough count. He had obtained more than 1 million stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower respectively and more than 13,000 essence condensation pills. There were more than 2 million immortal herbs. According to the exchange standards of Blood Sun Valley, that was more than 20,000 essence condensation pills. In other words, Su Zimo had obtained more than 30,000 essence condensation pills from killing the evil wolf army. Including the dozens of evil wolf army soldiers he killed previously, there was a high chance that he could reach 40,000 essence condensation pills. This was a huge windfall. In the entire 10 years of Snow Wind Ridge, they could only collect 100,000 immortal herbs in exchange for 1,000 essence condensation pills. However, Su Zimo obtained 40,000 this time round. Su Zimo looked at the corpses on the ground and shook his head gently. It was no wonder why some cultivators and living beings that ascended would choose to join these bandits to kill and loot everywhere. This method was indeed much faster than planting immortal herbs obediently. At that moment, the skies were gradually turning dark. Su Zimo was prepared to leave and meet up with Xie Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge. The moment he moved, he seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the corpses of the evil wolf army in deep thought. Blood Sun Valley. In a grand hall, Chen Xianyang removed his armor and sat in the middle in a brocade robe. On his left were some cultivators of Blood Sun Valley. On his right were Xie Qingying and Liang Qiu. The other cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge were settled down as well. At that moment, night descended. The hall was brightly lit. On the table in front of Xie Qingying and the others were many spirit fruits, wine and delicious delicacies cooked with the flesh of demon beasts. Every time they came to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills, they would spend a night here. That was because it was already evening by the time everyone arrived at Blood Sun Valley. If they rushed back to Snow Wind Ridge overnight, it would be easy for accidents to happen. Each time, Chen Xianyang would set up a banquet in Blood Sun Valley to welcome Xie Qingying. This time round, the banquet prepared by Blood Sun Valley was even more sumptuous after Snow Wind Ridge repelled a massive enemy. However, Xie Qingying sat at the table and frowned slightly. She did not eat much and was a little distracted. At the side, Liang Qiu ate heartily. From time to time, he would raise his head and meet Chen Xuanyang's gaze with a strange expression. Xie Qingying had other thoughts and did not notice this. A long time later, he smiled gently. Qingying, is there something on your mind? You should be happy that Snow Wind Ridge survived this calamity. Why are you still frowning? Xie Qingying forced a smile and did not reply. She looked at the sky outside and sighed internally. Suddenly, Chen Xianyang asked, Qingying, are you still thinking about that person? After a moment of silence, Xie Qingying mustered her courage and said, Xianyang, I know that this request is a little overboard, but I still want to ask if Blood Sun Valley can lead some people to receive my guard. Chapter 1811, Innocence. Chapter 1811, Innocence. Chen Xianyang put down his wine glass with an unchanged expression and asked, Qingying, he's just a guard. He's only a grade 4 black immortal. Why are you so worried about him? No. Xia Qingying said, it's all because of him that everyone from Snow Wind Ridge survived this time round. If. Mistress. Right then, Liang Qiu suddenly said, haven't you ever suspected that person's identity? Suspect what? Xia Qingying was slightly stunned. Liang Qiu said in a deep voice, that person's background is unknown. He said that he came from the lower worlds. However, when he ascended, he became a grade 4 black immortal. That's because he passed the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. Xia Qingying explained. Fufu. Liang Qiu sneered, Mistress, do you really believe his nonsense? If he had passed the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation, there's no way he could have descended on the Dragon Abyss star. He said that an accident happened, but he did not explain in detail because he had no way of explaining it. What accidents can happen during the tribulation transcendence process? When Chen Xianyang saw that, a smile flashed through his eyes, but he was in no hurry to speak. Xia Qingying frowned in deep thought. Liang Qiu looked at Chen Xianyang instinctively. Chen Xianyang nodded slightly, indicating for him to continue. Liang Qiu was invigorated and continued, Mistress, think about it again. He's only a grade 4 black immortal, but he wants to hide his cultivation. What is he doing in our Snow Wind Ridge? It's only a day's journey from our Snow Wind Ridge to Blood Sun Valley today. How can it be a coincidence that we encountered the evil wolf army? Someone must have leaked the news. It must be Su Zimo. He's the spy of the evil wolf army. At that point, Chen Xianyang spoke, what Commander Liang said makes sense. You can't judge a book by its cover. This person has only been in Snow Wind Ridge for a year. He's truly not worthy of your trust. It's not right. Xia Qingying shook her head. You said that Guard Su is a spy. How is that possible? He was the one who killed the leader of the evil wolf army and forced them to retreat. Everyone witnessed it personally. Mistress, that's clearly a ruse to gain sympathy. Liang Qiu defended forcefully, Su Zimo must have a greater motive for doing this. There's a high chance that he's plotting against the entire Snow Wind Ridge. Furthermore, that's the reason why he wants to obtain your trust, Mistress. Xia Qingying shook her head gently in disbelief. Liang Qiu continued, Mistress, think about it. If you don't ride on a demon beast, how can you catch up to the black scale fiend wolves? However, Su Zimo chased after them. His trip this time round is definitely not to hunt down the evil wolf army, but to discuss an even greater scheme with the remaining evil wolf army. What scheme? Tell me. Right then, a voice sounded from outside the hall. 3 people walked towards the hall. The person in the middle wore green robes and had refined features. It was Su Zimo. The 2 people beside him were the guards of Snow Wind Ridge who stood guard outside. One of the guards smiled at Xia Qingying. Mistress, Guard Su is back. When Xia Qingying saw that Su Zimo had returned, her eyes lit up and she stood up to welcome him with a delighted expression. A dark look flashed through the depths of Chen Xuanyang's eyes when he saw that. Guard Su, are you all right? Xia Qingying sized up Su Zimo and asked worriedly. Su Zimo smiled gently. Thank you for your concern, Mistress. I'm fine. Chen Xianyang shifted his gaze towards Liang Qiu. Liang Qiu understood and suddenly slammed the table. He pointed at Su Zimo and shouted, Su Zimo, how dare you return? If I hadn't returned, would have been labeled as a spy. Su Zimo scoffed coldly. Turning around, Xia Qingying frowned at Liang Qiu and said in a deep voice, Liang Qiu, stop talking. Guard Su can't be a spy. I believe in him. Qingying. Right then, Chen Xianyang stood up slowly and approached. He glanced at Su Zimo and said, I think that what Commander Liang said is not unreasonable. One has to be wary of others. The moment he arrived at Snow Wind Ridge, the evil wolf army appeared in the vicinity. The two of them might be related. Su Zimo looked at Qin Xianyang with a fake smile without saying anything. He could sense that there were many experts hidden around the hall. Apart from the Grade 5 Black Immortals, there were also a few Grade 6 Black Immortals. Furthermore, Qin Xianyang was a Grade 6 Black Immortal expert himself. Under normal circumstances, given Su Zimo's cultivation realm, there was no way he could scan his surroundings so clearly. However, Su Zimo's essence spirit was fused from the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit and Green Lotus essence spirit and had already undergone a shocking transformation. His essence spirit realm far surpassed his cultivation realm and was already at the realm of a Grade 6 Black Immortal. Of course, Su Zimo was now in Blood Sun Valley. Even if he knew that Qin Xianyang was the one behind everything today, he could not openly fall out with the latter. As one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star, Blood Sun Valley had many hidden experts. If he were to go against Blood Sun Valley today, even he might not be able to leave alive, let alone everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. Liang Qiu asked pretentiously, "Young Master Qin, how do you think we should deal with Su Zimo?" "In my opinion, we should just kill him to prevent any trouble." "No." Xia Qingying rejected with a cold expression. She had an unfriendly expression and glared at Liang Qiu fixedly. She could tell that Liang Qiu was clearly using his position to take revenge. Upon returning to Snow Wind Ridge this time round, she would definitely punish Liang Qiu severely. Liang Qiu did not dare to meet Xia Qingying's gaze. He had long known about his situation and knew that he would be punished upon returning to Snow Wind Ridge. As such, he had already sought out Qin Xianyang in secret upon arriving at Blood Sun Valley. That was the reason for the banquet today. Qin Xianyang smiled. Killing him directly is way too arbitrary. In my opinion, we should detain this person for the time being and interrogate him to find out his background before making a decision. Although Qin Xianyang was smiling on the surface, he was already filled with killing intent internally. If Su Zimo was truly detained, he would not be the only one deciding how to deal with him. No. Xia Qingying shook her head still. Suddenly, Su Zimo said, "Are you suspecting that I'm related to the evil wolf army?" "That's right." Liang Qiu sneered, "Don't think that you can prove your innocence just by killing dozens of the evil wolf army." "Is that so?" Su Zimo smiled at Liang Qiu and said coldly, "I didn't just kill dozens of the evil wolf army." At that point, Su Zimo paused for a moment and suddenly took out a storage bag. With a thought of his spirit consciousness, he removed everything from the storage bag. Instantly, blood qi filled the entire hall. Hundreds of corpses of the evil wolf army and hundreds of black scale fiend wolves were piled in the hall, dripping with blood in a shocking manner. All of them died tragically. Some of them were sliced into two. Some of them were riddled with holes by sharp weapons. Some of them died with widened eyes with deep fear in their eyes. It was unknown what they experienced. Pust. Everyone in the hall gasped with shocked expressions. Chapter 1812, Decision. Chapter 1812, Decision. There was nothing more convincing than the 400-odd corpses of the evil wolf army. When those bloodied corpses were moved into the hall by Su Zimo, all the suspicions and slandering of Liang Qiu earlier on seemed extremely weak. That scene gave everyone a huge shock as well. None of the 500 evil wolf army soldiers were spared. Was this done by this seemingly frail green-robed scholar? Even with Qin Xianyang's shrewdness, his expression changed starkly. He knew in his heart that Su Zimo was not only proving his innocence, but also establishing his dominance. That person was telling him not to provoke him. How is this possible? Even Liang Qiu's confidence was lacking as he forced a smile. Why, you're only a grade 4 black immortal. How can you kill so many of the evil wolf army? Xia Qingying took a deep breath and composed herself. She looked at Liang Qiu coldly and questioned in a deep voice, Liang Qiu, what else do you have to say? I. Liang Qiu looked a little flustered and looked at Chen Xianyang instinctively, wanting to say something. Chen Xuanyang's expression darkened and killing intent flashed through his eyes. Suddenly, he slapped Liang Qiu on the head. Bang! Brain juice splattered. Liang Qiu's eyes widened in disbelief. The few of them were extremely close and he did not expect Chen Xianyang to attack him, let alone release a killing move directly. Not only did that palm crack his skull, it even dispersed the essence spirit in his consciousness. Naturally, Chen Xianyang would not allow Liang Qiu to reveal their collusion. As a grade 6 black immortal, apart from Su Zimo, no one present could react to his attack at this distance. Naturally, Su Zimo would not save Liang Qiu either. Thump. Liang Qiu's corpse laid stiffly in a pool of blood without resting in peace. Chen Xianyang, what are you doing? Xia Qingying snapped out of her stupor and asked loudly. Chen Xianyang retracted his palm and wiped it gently with a calm expression. Qingying, this person has ulterior motives. To think that he would want to frame the meritorious guard of this trip, Su Zimo. He almost deceived me. I'm worried about keeping such a despicable person by your side. I know you're soft-hearted, so I'll kill him for you today. No matter how wrong Liang Qiu is, he's still someone from Snow Wind Ridge. You. Xia Qingying clenched her fists slightly with an enraged expression. Chen Xianyang smiled gently. Qingying, an expert like Guard Su, is more than enough to replace Liang Qiu as the commander of Snow Wind Ridge. As for Liang Qiu, he deserved to die. Pausing for a moment, Chen Xianyang shifted his gaze towards Su Zimo and asked with a smile, Guard Su, what do you think? Others might not be able to tell, but Su Zimo saw everything clear as a mirror. Apart from the fact that Chen Xianyang was worried that Liang Qiu would spout nonsense, the reason why he was so decisive to kill Liang Qiu in public was also to establish his dominance. He took out more than 400 corpses of the evil wolf army to shock everyone in Blood Sun Valley. In return, this young master of Blood Sun Valley killed Liang Qiu with a single palm strike right in front of him. This young master was telling Su Zimo that killing him was as simple as killing this person. Although everything seemed calm between the two of them on the surface, there was a flurry of swords and sabers behind their backs. Both of them had already attacked once. Young Master Chen, you must be joking. Su Zimo was naturally unmoved by Chen Xuanyang's threat and replied indifferently, I'll leave Snow Wind Ridge after today. I truly can't take on the position of the commander of the guards. Oh. Chen Xuanyang's eyes lit up, thinking that his dominance had worked. He nodded in satisfaction. That's a pity. Fellow Daoist Su, why are you leaving? Xia Qingying was a little anxious and couldn't care less that others were present. She asked hurriedly, although Liang Qiu slandered you, I never suspected you. Given the meritorious deed you've done today, as long as we return to Snow Wind Ridge, I'll report it to my father and give you a generous reward. Your capabilities are enough for you to be the commander of the guards. That's right. A guard at the side said, Guard Su, although you haven't been to our Snow Wind Ridge for long, you've saved everyone this time round. We're all impressed. Su Zimo shook his head gently. I'm used to being lazy and I don't like to be restrained. I can't be the commander of the guards either. I've already disturbed you guys after staying in Snow Wind Ridge for a year. Even without today's matter, I'm prepared to bid farewell to all of you and explore elsewhere. Xia Qingying frowned. However, it's not safe outside the Dragon Abyss Star. If you're alone. Mistress, I've made up my mind. Su Zimo said indifferently. At that point, Xia Qingying could no longer persuade him and could only sigh internally. Actually, the most important reason why Su Zimo wanted to leave was because he had already offended the evil wolf army after killing 500 of them. Under normal circumstances, no one would know who did it if all of them were dead. However, it was clear that the evil wolf army was in cahoots with Blood Sun Valley. There was no way to hide this. If he continued to stay in Snow Wind Ridge, it would bring about a calamity for them. At the very least, given his current cultivation realm, he could not fight against a faction like Blood Sun Valley and the Evil Wolf Army, one of the 4 great bandits. Therefore, he could only choose to leave. Chen Xianyang patted Xia Qingying gently on the shoulder and consoled her softly. Qingying, everyone has their own ambitions and there's no way to force things. If Snow Wind Ridge lacks manpower, I can send some experts over. There's no need for that. Thank you, young Master Chen. Xia Qingying shook her head. Unknowingly, she had changed the way she addressed Chen Xianyang and distanced herself from him. Chen Xianyang did not mind and waved his hand. Men, clean up the corpses of the Evil Wolf Army. Let the banquet continue. Young Master Chen, I'm a little tired. I'll head down to rest first. Xia Qingying said before looking at Su Zimo. Fellow Daoist Su, follow me. I have something to tell you. Su Zimo nodded and followed. Chen Xianyang looked at the backs of the 2 of them and smirked. Before long, the 2 of them arrived at the resting place of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. Xia Qingying bit her cherry lips gently and suddenly raised her head. Fellow Daoist Su, I know that you chose to leave because you're worried that you'll implicate Snow Wind Ridge. Su Zimo was slightly stunned and a look of surprise flashed through his eyes. He had not expected that the young mistress of Snow Wind Ridge would be able to tell his intentions so quickly. Su Zimo did not say anything as a silent acknowledgement. Xia Qingying said, actually, you don't have to do that at all. I'll report today's matter to my father. We can consider it at length and make preparations in advance to discuss a foolproof plan to deal with the Evil Wolf Army. Although Xia Qingying said that, she knew in her heart that if the Evil Wolf Army truly attacked, Snow Wind Ridge would definitely be destroyed. Chapter 1813, Broken Sword. Chapter 1813, Broken Sword. To be fair, Su Zimo was only a grade 4 black immortal. As for Snow Wind Ridge, they were not considered as the top combat strength. The territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge was a grade 6 black immortal while his protector was a grade 5 black immortal. However, for some reason, Xia Qingying had a strange feeling in her heart, as though she had a sixth sense, that the green-robed man before her was very, very important to Snow Wind Ridge. If this person were to leave, it would be a huge loss for Snow Wind Ridge. That was the reason why she wanted to try her best to retain Su Zimo. However, Su Zimo merely shook his head gently. When Xia Qingying saw that Su Zimo was determined, she could only sigh. The 2 of them stood facing each other in silence for a moment. As though she recalled something, Xia Qingying took out a storage bag and handed it to Su Zimo. Fellow Daoist Su, the storage bags of the dozens of Evil Wolf Army soldiers you killed initially are all inside. Keep them. Su Zimo thought about it and did not reject it. Actually, he would not have thought too much about it even if Xia Qingying kept the storage bags for herself. He had intended to leave something for Snow Wind Ridge upon his departure as well. Su Zimo received the storage bag and scanned it with his spirit consciousness. The items in the storage bag were not much different from the storage bags of the Evil Wolf Army. There were dermic treasures, immortal herbs and essence condensation pills. Su Zimo put away the immortal herbs and essence condensation pills. Just as he was about to return the remaining dermic treasures and weapons to Xia Qingying, his heart skipped a beat. Earlier on, his palm accidentally touched a storage bag. The bronze square tripod that was initially silent in his consciousness vibrated strangely. Frowning slightly, Su Zimo picked up the storage bag and started checking it. That's the storage bag of the leader, Xia Qingying said. Su Zimo nodded and put away the storage bag as well. Thereafter, he stuffed all the dermic treasures he had collected from the Evil Wolf Army into a storage bag and handed it to Xia Qingying. Fellow Daoist Su, what are you doing? Xia Qingying was at a loss. There were more than 500 black-grade dermic treasures. Although they were all inferior black-grade, this was an unimaginable wealth for Snow Wind Ridge. More than half of the black immortals in Snow Wind Ridge did not have black-grade dermic treasures. Even for the guards of Snow Wind Ridge, slightly more than 100 of them had dermic treasures. If Snow Wind Ridge obtained those dermic treasures, their overall strength would increase significantly. Accept it. Su Zimo smiled. Those dark-grade dermic treasures were almost useless to him. His grade 9 green lotus true body was completely superior to inferior black-grade dermic treasures. This is way too precious. Xie Qingying still could not believe or accept it. Su Zimo smiled. You deserve it. Don't forget, when I first descended on the Dragon Abyss Star, you gave me a bottle of healing elixirs and a dust removal talisman. Xie Qingying's eyes reddened. She had not expected that Su Zimo would still remember her subtle actions back then. Furthermore, he even gave her such a huge reward in return. In terms of value, any single inferior black-grade dermic treasure was enough to exchange for hundreds of thousands of bottles of those elixirs and dust removal talismans. Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness and scanned his surroundings carefully. When he did not sense anyone spying on him, he said, "Don't worry, although I'll leave Snow Wind Ridge, I won't be able to leave the Dragon Abyss Star within a short period of time. Keep this messenger talisman well. If anything dangerous happens in Snow Wind Ridge, tear this talisman and I'll know." Su Zimo took out a messenger talisman from his storage bag and handed it to Xie Qingying. Yes. Xie Qingying pursed her lips slightly with a hint of reluctance in her eyes. Brother Su, you have to take care too. Su Zimo waved it off casually. Just as he was about to turn and leave, he suddenly paused and whispered, I've got to remind you about something. Be careful of Qin Xianyang. He could not reveal that Qin Xianyang colluded with the evil wolf army. After all, he did not have any evidence. Even if he said it, it would only be a one-sided statement. He could only leave a reminder for Xie Qingying. Yes. Xie Qingying nodded. When Su Zimo saw that Xie Qingying's expression was calm, as though she had expected it, he could not help but ask in surprise, You knew about it long ago? I was merely suspicious previously. Xie Qingying said, Qin Xianyang appeared not long after you left. Isn't that too much of a coincidence? Furthermore, you're so insistent on leaving as though you're convinced that the evil wolf army knows about this. With all 500 of them dead, the only one who can leak the news is Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo nodded slightly with a look of admiration in his eyes. The woman before him was extremely smart. It was truly rare for her to be able to notice something amiss through the clues left behind. What was even rarer was that Xie Qingying was still expressionless despite suspecting Qin Xianyang. If Xie Qingying were to fall out with Qin Xianyang and Blood Sun Valley, she would definitely suffer immediately and Snow Wind Ridge would not be spared either. However, if Xie Qingying did not expose him, Qin Xianyang would be smug and continue with his disguise. Brother Su, when are you prepared to leave? Xie Qingying asked, Do you want to leave with us tomorrow? She was worried that Blood Sun Valley or Qin Xianyang would harm Su Zimo. After all, Qin Xianyang's plan was ruined because of Su Zimo's appearance today. However, if Su Zimo were to travel with everyone from Snow Wind Ridge, it would be difficult for Qin Xianyang to make a move openly. We'll see. Su Zimo replied ambiguously. Pausing for a moment, he continued, I might head to Snow Wind Ridge to take someone away. I hope you can agree to it. No problem. Xie Qingying nodded without hesitation. Su Zimo turned to leave and waved to Xie Qingying with his back facing her. Xie Qingying watched Su Zimo enter a room before leaving reluctantly. Late at night, Su Zimo did not rest. After returning to his room, he took out the storage bag of the leader. He was extremely curious as to what was in the storage bag that could trigger a reaction from the bronze square tripod. He released his spirit consciousness and forcefully erased the spirit consciousness imprint on the storage bag before opening it. Although there were no immortal herbs in the storage bag, there were around 10,000 essence condensation pills, it was almost equivalent to the total number of elixirs carried by the rest of the evil wolf army. Su Zimo put away the essence condensation pills and continued checking. Apart from the essence condensation pills, there were a few other black-grade dermic treasures in his storage bag. The best among them was only at middle grade. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Even middle black grade was not worthy of his attention. Right then, Su Zimo's gaze shifted and he exclaimed softly. In the corner of his storage bag, he caught sight of a gray broken sword. The broken sword was dim without any sharpness and was filled with cracks. It was like a piece of trash. However, when Su Zimo picked up the broken sword, the bronze square tripod vibrated once more. Chapter 1814, True Dragon 9 Flashes. Chapter 1814, True Dragon 9 Flashes. Su Zimo scanned the broken sword carefully with his spirit consciousness but could not see anything. After pondering for a moment, he tossed the broken sword into the bronze square tripod. The interior of the bronze square tripod heated up once more and released an extremely terrifying power to smelt the broken sword. The entire process was done on its own by the bronze square tripod. About an hour later, the broken sword was completely refined by the bronze square tripod, forming a dark gray liquid. The bronze square tripod began to absorb the power of the broken sword. Su Zimo focused his gaze and saw that the other shattered walls of the bronze square tripod showed no signs of healing. The power of the broken sword was still directed to the intact tripod wall where the divine dragon was. Suddenly, the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod suddenly opened its eyes. The man and dragon exchanged glances. A divine light seemed to burst forth from the divine dragon's eyes and entered Su Zimo's eyes. Su Zimo shuddered. The next moment, a secret skill appeared in his mind. True Dragon 9 Flashes. Su Zimo murmured instinctively. The dragon phoenix true body had browsed through many ancient books of the dragon race in the Dragon Bone Valley of Tianhuang mainland, but he had never seen similar secret skills. This was clearly a secret skill of the upper world's dragon race. Strange, there are Buddhist cultivation techniques and Sanskrit on the inner walls of this bronze square tripod. However, there are secret skills of the dragon race on the outer walls. Su Zimo was increasingly curious about the origin of the bronze square tripod. However, at that moment, he was in no mood to think. He memorized the entirety of the secret skill, True Dragon 9 Flashes, right away and comprehended them bit by bit. About 4 hours later, Su Zimo let out a long breath. This secret skill of the dragon race was extremely mysterious and complicated. If it was cultivated by a true human or anyone else, it might take dozens or even hundreds of years for them to comprehend it. However, Su Zimo's essence spirit had the dragon phoenix essence spirit to begin with. Cultivating this secret skill of the dragon race required half the effort. In just 4 hours, he had already comprehended something. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and released the secret skill. In a flash, he vanished from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already outside the room. A look of joy flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. This secret skill should be a top-tier movement technique of the dragon race with a total of 9 levels. Once released, it would produce an effect close to teleportation, disappearing from the spot and flashing to another location. Of course, the flash could not be too far away. Teleportation was a supreme divine power. In the upper world, one had to be at the heaven essence realm to release a supreme divine power. That was the legendary Heaven Immortal. However, at level 1 of the True Dragon 9 Flashes, a movement technique similar to teleportation would be born. If he could cultivate to level 2, he could flash twice in succession. If one could cultivate it to its limits, they could flash 9 times in succession. Su Zimo had fought countless battles in Tianhuang mainland. He knew very well what it meant for a battle if he could master that movement technique. On the ever-changing battlefield, anyone who possessed such an unfathomable movement technique would definitely be in control of the initiative. After 4 hours of cultivation, Su Zimo was already at level 1. Su Zimo looked at the bronze square tripod and fell into deep thought. At that moment, the eyes of the divine dragon on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod closed once more. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra was incomplete. If Su Zimo was not wrong, there was a high chance that the remaining Sanskrit words were etched on the inner walls of the other 3 walls. Did that mean that the other 3 outer walls of the bronze square tripod would have 3 different secret skills as well? What would happen if the bronze square tripod was completely repaired? Ever since he ascended through the tribulation transcendence, Su Zimo had a feeling that the bronze square tripod seemed to have its own sentience, like a living being. Suddenly, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he put away the bronze square tripod and turned to look at the darkness in the distance with a bright gaze. Before long, a figure walked out slowly from the darkness and arrived. It was the young master of Blood Sun Valley, Qin Xianyang. "Brother Su, your senses are so sharp." Qin Xianyang smiled gently and nodded to Su Zimo, praising the latter. Su Zimo did not fall for it at all and asked with a calm expression, "Young Master Qin, why are you here so late at night?" Qin Xianyang smiled. "I love to make friends. After hearing that you wanted to leave Snow Wind Ridge during dinner, why don't you come to Blood Sun Valley if you don't have anywhere to go?" "Brother Su, don't worry. Although you're a grade 4 Black Immortal, your status in Blood Sun Valley will definitely not be weaker than a grade 5 Black Immortal. You think too highly of me, young Master Qin." Su Zimo replied indifferently, "However, I'm lazy by nature and don't like to be restrained. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay in Blood Sun Valley." Qin Xianyang burst into laughter. "It's fine. Since you're unwilling, I won't force you. However, the door to Blood Sun Valley will always be open for you. As long as you're willing, you can return at any time." Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and remained silent. In fact, he could not even be bothered to reply. Qin Xianyang nodded with a calm expression and turned to leave. The moment he turned around, his expression darkened. As the young master of Blood Sun Valley and a grade 6 Black Immortal, he was giving Su Zimo face by personally inviting a grade 4 Black Immortal. To think that this person would be so tactless. Qin Xianyang was already enraged the moment Su Zimo rejected him. However, he was scheming and did not reveal it. He left Su Zimo's residence and headed towards his chamber. Before long, a faint shadow appeared in the darkness behind him. "Young master, how should we deal with this person?" the shadow asked softly. Qin Xianyang stopped in his tracks and said slowly with a cold gaze that was filled with killing intent, "This person has some tricks up his sleeves and is extremely intelligent. If he can't be used by me, I'll have to kill him." "Understood," the shadow replied. Qin Xianyang said, "Keep an eye on him and attack when he's alone. Don't let Qingying or anyone else from Snow Wind Ridge witness it." Pausing for a moment, he continued, "Additionally, bring a few more people with you. Don't let anything go wrong. This person must have some means to be able to destroy hundreds of the evil wolf army and kill Boss Hook who was above his level." "Don't worry, young master," the shadow said, "I've asked Liang Qiu previously and he only killed Boss Hook by a surprise attack. If we were to fight head-on, he would definitely not be able to kill a grade 5 Black Immortal. Alright, you may leave." Qin Xianyang waved his hand. The shadow gradually disappeared into the night. In the dark night, a few black shadows gradually appeared outside Su Zimo's room, like ghosts in the night that were difficult to detect. In the room, Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly. A cold glint flashed through his eyes as he smirked and murmured, "Is it here already?" Chapter 1815, Suppressing Everything. Chapter 1815, Suppressing Everything. Actually, when Su Zimo was conversing with Qin Xianyang, his spirit perception had already sensed the latter's killing intent. He had not expected Qin Xianyang to move so quickly. After all, this was Blood Sun Valley and Xia Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge were still nearby. If Qin Xianyang wanted to maintain his image, he should not attack here. The people who were lurking were only here to watch him. Although those people were far away and seemed like they were well hidden, they could not hide from Su Zimo's senses. Su Zimo's essence spirit had already reached the level of a grade 6 black immortal. Even without using his spirit consciousness, his spirit perception and his powerful 5 senses could sense the abnormality in his surroundings. Sneering coldly, Su Zimo pondered for a moment before floating down from the bed. Since it was inconvenient for them to attack in Blood Sun Valley, he would create an opportunity for them to attack. Shadow was Qin Xuanyang's personal guard, a grade 5 black immortal. He ascended 20,000 years ago and nearly died in the chaotic world outside. He only survived because he was saved by Qin Xianyang. His life was given to him by Qin Xianyang. From that day on, he followed Qin Xianyang and became his shadow. Over the years, he had helped Qin Xianyang kill countless people. He was already extremely familiar with such things. The person he had to kill this time round was slightly special. Although he was a grade 4 black immortal, he seemed to have some methods. He did not dare to be careless. In order to kill this person completely without any accidents, he brought along another 6 grade 5 black immortals. Including him, there were 7 grade 5 black immortals. 7 grade 5 black immortals surrounding and killing a grade 4 black immortal was not a small lineup. Boss, he's out. A cultivator beside Shadow sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Shadow narrowed his gaze and looked over. The green-robed cultivator pushed open the door and determined his direction before leaving quietly without alerting anyone, as though he wanted to leave alone in silence. Boss, he seems like he's trying to leave alone without alarming anyone from Snow Wind Ridge. A Blood Sun Valley cultivator sent a voice transmission. Another person said, Boss, should we follow him? Shadow sneered and sent a voice transmission, this is a rare opportunity. We'll send this lad on his way tonight. Everyone, be careful and don't let him discover you. Understood. The other 6 grade 5 black immortals of Blood Sun Valley replied. Hidden in the darkness, Shadow and the other 6 watched Su Zimo from afar and followed behind. Before long, they left Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo gradually sped up. The group of 7 followed tightly behind. Shadow sneered, the entire process was extremely smooth and the person before him did not notice anything at all. They were already gradually far away from Blood Sun Valley. No matter how much of a commotion there was, it would not alarm anyone from Blood Sun Valley. It was only then that Shadow gestured to the others. The remaining 6 people understood and dispersed, surrounding the figure at the front. Shadow approached stealthily as well. Right then, the figure in front slowed down and stopped in his tracks. Immediately after, the person turned around with a burning gaze that was unusually bright in the night. He was actually looking in Shadow's direction. Shadow was slightly stunned. He had been discovered. Since his tracks were exposed, Shadow no longer hid. With a mocking expression, he walked out from the darkness and glared at Su Zimo coldly. It's too late for you to only realize it now. Shadow sneered. The moment he said that, 6 figures gradually appeared not far away from Su Zimo and sealed his path of escape. 7 grade 5 black immortals surrounded Su Zimo. This was supposed to be a sure kill. However, for some reason, Shadow felt uneasy. This person who was surrounded and had nowhere to run seemed way too calm. He could not see any panic or fear in Su Zimo's eyes. It was as though this person had long known about everything before him. You. Shadow suddenly thought of a terrifying guess. Could this person have sensed their tracks long ago and came here intentionally to lure them in? Right then, Su Zimo smiled gently and said, It's too late for you to only realize it now. The same sentence spoken by different people. The moment he said that, Su Zimo's figure suddenly retreated and his body was filled with a divine power at an astonishing speed. Heavenly feet and boundless golden light burst forth at the same time. Before the grade 5 black immortal behind Su Zimo could react, he felt a figure flash before him and he was knocked into Su Zimo's embrace. Crack. 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 The jarring sound of bones cracking could be heard. The chest of the Grade 5 Black Immortal caved in deeply. Poof. The next moment, a bloodied hole appeared on his glabella. His essence spirit was destroyed and he died on the spot. At that moment, that person's eyes were widened in disbelief. Attack. Shadow reacted right away and shrieked. Even if he realized that Su Zimo was intentionally luring them over, he had to attack. He did not believe that their remaining 6 Grade 5 Black Immortals could not kill a Grade 4 Black Immortal. Kill. Su Zimo's figure advanced once more, leaving a series of afterimages as he arrived before a Grade 5 Black Immortal. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and hollered. Thunderclap kill. At that distance, the sound domain's secret skill released produced immense destructive power. The moment the Grade 5 Black Immortal's dermic treasure was summoned and divine powers were condensed, he heard a thunderous explosion. The person shuddered and his mind went blank as his gaze turned sluggish. A trickle of blood even seeped out from his ears, nose and mouth. Bang! Su Zimo slapped down. The person's forehead shattered and his essence spirit was crushed by Su Zimo's palm as he fell to the ground. In just 2 breaths, 2 Grade 5 Black Immortals were dead. Swoosh. 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 A few black grade dermic treasures tore through the void with an aggressive aura and let out shuddering sounds as they enveloped Su Zimo. Waving his sleeves, Su Zimo suddenly raised a handful of yellow sand and enveloped the few black grade dermic treasures. The yellow sand surged and rubbed against one another. Crack. Instantly, cracks appeared on the few black grade dermic treasures. Just like that, they were destroyed by the 9 heavens living soil and crushed into pieces. How dare you try to kill me with such methods? Su Zimo sneered and punched in reverse, shattering an incoming divine power. He strode forward and shouted, I'm Desolate Marshal and I will suppress everything. Su Zimo pointed casually and pierced the glabella of a Grade 5 Black Immortal instantly. A 3rd Grade 5 Black Immortal was dead. The remaining 4 people were dumbfounded and their eyes were filled with shock. That person had just shattered a divine power with his body. Finally, a look of fear appeared in Shadow's eyes. Chapter 1816, 3 Great Evil Daos. Chapter 1816, 3 Great Evil Daos. Although the person before him was only a Grade 4 Black Immortal, he exuded an unstoppable aura as though he was looking down on the world. Shadow and the other 3 were shocked. In the lower world, they were also titans that ruled over a region. However, after ascending to the upper world, their drive had long been worn away after so many years. They knew very well that in the upper world, even on this remote Dragon Abyss star, they were only nobodies. However, the person before him was different. This person exuded an invincible sharpness. I'm Desolate Marshal and I will suppress everything. The everything in that sentence was not referring to the few of them, but the experts of the Dragon Abyss star and even the many experts of the upper world. Anyone with such boldness was either a lunatic or a truly ruthless person. At the very least, they could not afford to provoke him. Shadow was already thinking of retreating when he saw Su Zimo kill the 3 Grade 5 Black Immortals with ease. No, we can only kill him if the young master comes personally. That thought flashed through Shadow's mind as he commanded the remaining 3 Grade 5 Black Immortals, stop him. After saying that, Shadow wanted to escape from the battlefield. However, the moment he turned around, his vision blurred and someone appeared before him. The person wore green robes and had refined features as he smiled at him. Pust. Shadow's pupils constricted and his hairs stood on end. How was that possible? Before Shadow turned around, he clearly saw that this person was stopped by the other 3 Black Immortals. How did the latter arrive before him in the blink of an eye? Was this teleportation? Shock, fear and confusion flashed through Shadow's eyes. The next moment, his vision darkened and he felt a sharp pain in his mind, losing consciousness completely. The remaining 3 Grade 5 Black Immortals were shocked as well. They released their most ferocious attacks, but all their dermic treasures, divine powers and secret skills missed. Su Zimo had vanished from the spot. By the time they reacted, they saw Su Zimo kill Shadow with a single slap. True Dragon 9 flashes. Although Su Zimo could only flash once at the moment, it had already displayed an extremely terrifying effect in the battle. Su Zimo turned to look at the remaining 3 people with a calm gaze and a faint smile. In the eyes of the 3 of them, this frail and scholarly scholar was like a demon. Escape. The 3 of them felt chills run down their spines and turned to flee without hesitation. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and released 2 lesser divine powers at the same time. Under normal circumstances, a cultivator could only release a single divine power at the same time. However, Su Zimo's Green Lotus Essence Spirit and Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit were fused right now and he could release 2 divine powers at the same time. Hell Dao. Hungry Ghost Dao. 2 Buddhist divine powers burst forth and descended on the heads of 2 Grade 5 Black Immortals. The scene around one of them changed drastically and countless ghostly figures appeared. They were sinister and filled with blood qi. It was endless darkness. The Hell Dao was the most violent divine power among the 3 evil Daos. Once one fell into it, it would be as though they had fallen into an endless abyss and could not break free. They would be haunted by countless malevolent ghosts and their life force would be devoured. The Grade 5 Black Immortal released a lesser divine power hurriedly as well, wanting to fight against the Hell Dao. However, it did not last long before his lesser divine power was devoured by the Hell Dao. Ah! 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 The person stood on the spot and let out a tragic cry as though he had gone mad. Before long, he was drowned by the many malevolent ghosts. At the same time, the Hungry Ghost Dao descended on another Grade 5 Black Immortal. Many hungry ghosts appeared around the Grade 5 Black Immortal and lunged towards him with long, grisly red tongues and bloodshot eyes. Bang! 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 This person attacked consecutively and released immortal arts and divine powers, using dermic treasures to suppress many hungry ghosts. However, the hungry ghosts were endless and appeared continuously. They lunged forward like madmen and gnawed at his flesh in huge mouthfuls. Although the 3 evil Daos of the 6 Daos were all lesser divine powers, they were used to punish those who were evil and extremely violent. Before long, the 2 Grade 5 Black Immortals died in the 2 evil Daos. Su Zimo frowned slightly. His current cultivation was only at Grade 4 Black Immortal. Although his essence spirit was at the level of a Grade 6 Black Immortal, the power of his lesser divine powers should not exceed that of a Grade 5 Black Immortal. The reason why he released the 2 lesser divine powers was because he wanted to trap the 2 of them before killing them. To think that the power of the 2 lesser divine powers was much stronger than Su Zimo had expected and killed the 2 Grade 5 Black Immortals. It's the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind and he quickly realized the reason. After cultivating this Buddhist cultivation technique, the might of his divine powers would increase. Furthermore, this was only the incomplete version. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra was even stronger than Su Zimo had imagined. Su Zimo put away his thoughts and did not think further. There was also a Grade 5 Black Immortal that escaped. He could not let that person return to Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit once more and released another divine power. A pair of gigantic wings grew slowly behind him. They were golden and shone with a bedazzling glow without any flaws. That was the divine power of the Golden Rock, Extreme Speed. This divine power was obtained by the Dragon Phoenix True Body who cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the Great Wilderness and was an innate divine power. Even though Su Zimo was only at the Black Essence realm right now, he could release his innate divine powers at will without restrictions. Swoosh! With a golden flash, Su Zimo's figure vanished from the spot. Initially, the grade 5 black immortal thought that he had escaped. Unexpectedly, he did not manage to escape far before his scalp tingled as though he was targeted by an extremely terrifying living being. Instinctively, he turned back. That single look scared him out of his wits and his legs went limp, almost falling to the ground. Unknowingly, Su Zimo had already arrived behind him and was inches away. I'm lacking a mount right now. You'll do. Circulating his essence spirit, Su Zimo extended his finger and tapped the grade 5 black immortal gently, releasing another lesser divine power. Beast Dao. A divine power descended on that person. The figure of the grade 5 black immortal changed at a visible speed. In the blink of an eye, he lost his human form and turned into a tall and mighty big yellow dog. Initially, Su Zimo wanted to turn him into a horse. Unexpectedly, he caught sight of a yellow dog darting by from the corner of his eye. The moment he was distracted, something went wrong with that divine power. So be it if you're a dog, as long as you can run. Su Zimo clapped and leaped onto the big yellow dog, patting its head. Let's go to Snow Wind Ridge. There was no way the grade 5 black immortal could endure such humiliation. Instantly, his blood surged and he cursed. Woof. 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 However, no words came out. Instead, there were only barks of a dog. Chapter 1817, Farewell. Chapter 1817, Farewell. Even he was stunned when he spoke. The big yellow dog's eyes shone with tears of grief. Let's go. Don't dawdle. Su Zimo patted the dog's head beneath him. If not for the lack of a mount, you would have died like those people. The big yellow dog could not help but shudder when he recalled the tragic state of his companions before their deaths. No matter what, if he could survive, he would have a chance to escape. At that thought, the big yellow dog was prepared to submit to Su Zimo first before looking for another opportunity to escape. With that, the big yellow dog bared his teeth and ran towards Snow Wind Ridge. Su Zimo sat on the big yellow dog and opened the storage bags of Shadow and the other 6. He took a look and could not help but laugh. There were many things in their storage bags. Apart from a few dermic treasures, there were a few cultivation techniques and immortal arts. There were more than 20,000 essence condensation pills alone. Including the 10,000 odd that Su Zimo had collected from the evil wolf army previously, he had close to 40,000 essence condensation pills. In addition, there were many immortal herbs in their storage bags. Coupled with the immortal herbs he had collected from the evil wolf army previously, there were a total of 3 million. Even in Blood Sun Valley, he could exchange for 30,000 essence condensation pills. If he could head to Dragon Abyss City, he could even exchange for 300,000 essence condensation pills. Of course, up till now, Su Zimo had no use for those immortal herbs. 40,000 essence condensation pills were enough for him to cultivate for a period of time. By the time dawn broke, Su Zimo had already arrived at Snow Wind Ridge on the big yellow dog. This time round, Su Zimo did not alarm anyone and sneaked into Snow Wind Ridge, arriving at his old straw hut. At that moment, there was a fatty sleeping soundly at the entrance. It was Duan Tianliang. Su Zimo was here to take Duan Tianliang away. This person knew his secret and could not stay in Snow Wind Ridge. He could either kill or keep this person by his side. In addition, Su Zimo was prepared to leave Snow Wind Ridge and lacked someone to take care of the spirit fields and other chores. Duan Tianliang was a suitable candidate. Duan Tianliang was sleeping soundly when he felt a warmth on his face, as though something moist and soft was brushing against it. Instinctively, he opened his eyes and saw a big yellow dog licking his face wildly with its wet tongue. Fuck your mother. Where did this wild dog come from? Duan Tianliang cursed and bolted up from the ground, invigorated instantly. After standing up, Duan Tianliang slapped his storage bag without hesitation and withdrew a pitch-black iron ball. He raised it above his head and shouted with a divine might, "Wild dog, take my 1,000-ton ball. All of a sudden, Duan Tianliang was stunned when he saw Su Zimo on the big yellow dog. Boss? Duan Tianliang blinked and seemed to have realized something. He coughed gently to hide his awkwardness and smiled embarrassedly. Boss, why are you back so early in the morning? Hee, I didn't know it was you. He put away the 1,000-ton ball without a trace and leaned forward, praising, Boss, where did you get this mount? It's truly unusual. Duan Tianliang wanted to reach out and touch the big yellow dog's head. Woof! The big yellow dog bared its teeth and glared at Duan Tianliang with an unfriendly expression. Wow, your temper sure is explosive. Duan Tianliang sneered and swept his spirit consciousness across the big yellow dog. Level 5 Black Essence Realm. Duan Tianliang was shocked. Su Zimo was only at the level 4 Black Essence Realm. He had not expected that the cultivation realm of a mount would be higher than its master. Duan Tianliang retreated a few steps and smiled obsequiously. Boss, you sure have good taste. One look and I can tell that this mount is extraordinary. It must have a noble bloodline and is one of the best among the dog race. Duan Tianliang was delighted. His words were rather particular. Not only did he praise Su Zimo, he even praised the big yellow dog. Woof! 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 Unexpectedly, the moment Duan Tianliang said that, the big yellow dog panicked and barked at him, almost biting him. To begin with, the big yellow dog was a grade 5 black immortal of Blood Sun Valley. How was it a dog? Naturally, he was furious when Duan Tianliang said that. Stop it. Su Zimo frowned slightly and patted the big yellow dog on the head. The big yellow dog whimpered and did not dare to say anything more. It could only bare its fangs at Duan Tianliang with a ferocious expression. Duan Tianliang was even more confused, not knowing how his words triggered the big yellow dog. Su Zimo replied, I've already bid farewell to the mistress and am prepared to leave Snow Wind Ridge. Ah. Duan Tianliang was stunned for a moment. Blinking his eyes, he asked in a testing manner, Boss, are you going to bring me along because you lack manpower? Yes. Su Zimo nodded. I came back this time round to bring you along. Duan Tianliang lamented internally, but he was overjoyed on the surface. I wonder what merits I have done to deserve such trust from you, boss. That's enough. Su Zimo interrupted him. Pack up and prepare to leave. Ah, all right. Duan Tianliang agreed readily and sprinted over. Su Zimo patted the big yellow dog and headed towards another spirit field. Before long, he saw another straw hut. At that moment, a middle-aged man pushed the door open carefully. It was Old Yen. The first person Su Zimo knew upon arriving at Snow Wind Ridge was Old Yen. Although the two of them did not interact much, Old Yen told him many things and took good care of him back then. Su Zimo remembered all of that. Brother Su? Old Yen raised his head and was slightly stunned when he saw Su Zimo, who was not far away. The barking sound woke him up. He got up and was about to go out to take a look when he bumped into Su Zimo. Brother Su, didn't you follow the mistress to Blood Sun Valley? Why are you back so early? Old Yen went forward and asked in surprise. Su Zimo nodded. I came back alone. I came this time round to bid you farewell as well. Why? Are you leaving, Brother Su? Old Yen was a little worried. You've just been promoted to be the personal guard of the mistress. Why are you leaving so soon? Did you have a conflict with Commander Liang? Back then, everyone witnessed the feud between Liang Qiu and Su Zimo. No. Su Zimo shook his head gently and was unwilling to talk more about it. Everyone would naturally know about this when Xie Qingying returned. Su Zimo said, Old Yen, this is a cultivation technique for children to focus their minds. It's for you. He took out a cultivation technique from his storage bag and handed it to Old Yen. This cultivation technique was obtained from Shadow of Blood Sun Valley. Su Zimo had always been clear about gratitude and hatred. Even if it was just a small favor in the eyes of others, he would remember it. This. Old Yan's palm trembled slightly. If he wanted to obtain such a cultivation technique, he would have to save up for tens of thousands of years to exchange for one. But now, Su Zimo had given him such a precious cultivation technique. Chapter 1818, Desolate Lands. Chapter 1818, Desolate Lands. Brother Su, this is too precious. Old Yan's face was slightly red as he held the spirit-gathering cultivation technique with both hands and trembled slightly. Nothing much. Su Zimo smiled gently. I have no use for such a cultivation technique. Just accept it. What's wrong? Right then, a woman pushed the door open and asked softly. Old Yan was excited and handed that cultivation technique to the woman. Hurry, look. This is the spirit-gathering cultivation technique that Brother Su gave our child. Ah! The woman exclaimed softly with a shocked expression when she saw the cultivation technique. This should be Old Yan's Tao companion, Ningyu. Su Zimo had heard Old Yan mention her in the past year. The two of them did not ascend at the same time, but they both came from minor kiliocosms. The fact that they were able to meet in Snow Wind Ridge was a rare fate as well, and they became Tao companions here later on. As though she recalled something, Ningyu said, Hurry, give Brother Su all the essence condensation pills you've saved up over the years. Right. Old Yan reacted as well and hurriedly took out a storage bag, handing it to Su Zimo. Brother Su, this is the essence condensation pills that I've accumulated over the years. There are more than 700 of them. There's no need. Su Zimo shook his head gently. I'm about to leave. Take this cultivation technique as a small gift from me to your son. Old Yan pondered for a moment. All right, since you said that, I'll accept it shamelessly, Brother Su. If you ever require anything, I'll definitely lay my life on the line. Brother Su, you haven't even met little Ping'an. Now that you're about to leave, please come over and take a look, Ningyu said with a smile. Little Ping'an was the nickname of Old Yan's child. He and Ningyu hoped that their child could grow up and live a peaceful life. Su Zimo nodded and arrived at the entrance of the room under the lead of Old Yan and Ningyu. Old Yan pushed the door open and revealed an exquisite cradle made of green bamboo placed in the middle of the room. A child around 2 to 3 years old slept inside with a flushed face and clenched fists. That child was almost the entirety of Old Yan's hope. Su Zimo did not enter the room. He merely paused for a moment at the entrance before retreating. He took out 2 more black-grade dermic treasures from his storage bag and handed them to Old Yan and Ningyu. Brother Su, this is. Old Yan was completely stunned and could not believe it. Although those 2 dermic treasures were only inferior black grade, they were extremely precious treasures to them. Accept it. Su Zimo smiled gently and threw down the 2 black grade dermic treasures. Turning around, he mounted the big yellow dog and sped back the way he came. Not far away, Duan Tianliang was running over. Let's go. Follow me. Su Zimo said and led the way out of Snow Wind Ridge. Duan Tianliang jogged behind him. The big yellow dog was still bearing a grudge against Duan Tianliang and ran away quickly on purpose. Duan Tianliang's legs almost broke from the running speed. The big yellow dog only slowed down after Su Zimo asked it to so that Duan Tianliang could catch his breath. Boss, does your mount have a name? Duan Tianliang caught up with great difficulty and asked while panting. No. Su Zimo said. Let's call it Big Yellow. Duan Tianliang said with evil intentions. Woof. The big yellow dog barked at Duan Tianliang with a sorrowful expression. Sure. Su Zimo nodded. Duan Tianliang winked at the big yellow dog and sneered internally, Little beast, you want to fight me? Boss, where are we going? Duan Tianliang asked again. Su Zimo asked, are there any deserted places on the Dragon Abyss Star? It's best if there are no factions gathered. Su Zimo was prepared to find a quiet place to cultivate in seclusion. Right now, he had close to 40,000 essence condensation pills in his storage bag, enough for him to cultivate for a long time. There were still many unknowns about the Dragon Abyss Star and the upper world. However, he could only explore those unknowns if he raised his cultivation as soon as possible. Duan Tianliang thought for a moment. More than half of the Dragon Abyss Star is actually desolate and filled with all sorts of living ferocious beasts. It's extremely dangerous and no one will go there. Of course, those living ferocious beasts won't dare to come out easily either. Su Zimo said, all right, let's check out these desolate lands. After saying that, a look of joy flashed through Big Yellow's eyes. Those desolate lands were filled with all sorts of living beings, strong and weak. There were many types and every single step was filled with danger. It was said that even the plants in the desolate lands could eat humans. If Su Zimo were to head to the desolate lands, he would definitely be buried there and it could find an opportunity to escape. Right, he also had to bite that fatty to death before escaping. At that thought, Big Yellow headed towards the desolate lands excitedly. At the same time, in Blood Sun Valley, Qin Xianyang frowned with a dark expression. He had just sent everyone from Snow Wind Ridge away when he learned that Su Zimo had already left overnight. There was still no news from Shadow and the others' pursuit of Su Zimo. Young master. Right then, a subordinate sped over with a flustered expression. Arriving before Qin Xianyang, he knelt on the ground and panted. Shadow and 5 other grade 5 black immortals are all dead. What? A cold glint flashed through Qin Xianyang's eyes and he turned murderous. The person said, according to my understanding, a total of 7 grade 5 black immortals from the valley, Shadow included, chased after Su Zimo this time round. Now, 6 of them are dead and their storage bags have been taken away. There's still 1 person unaccounted for. Good. Qin Xianyang grit his teeth and said coldly, very good, Su Zimo. I've truly underestimated you. Young master, what should we do? The Blood Sun Valley cultivator asked. Qin Xianyang's expression was cold. Pass down the order to search for Su Zimo with all our might. I don't believe that any faction in the territory of Blood Sun Valley will take him in. Also, keep an eye on Snow Wind Ridge. Understood. The Blood Sun Valley cultivator acknowledged and bid farewell. Qin Xianyang did not know at all that at that moment, Su Zimo had already left the territory of Blood Sun Valley on the Big Yellow Dog and was heading towards the desolate lands where no one had stepped foot. The 2 of them and the dog ran for a full 7 days before arriving at the edge of the desolate lands. Up ahead was a forest with lush leaves and many ancient trees soared into the skies. It was dark and sinister within, filled with an ancient aura. The Big Yellow Dog's eyes widened in shock and fear as it stopped in its tracks. Duan Tianliang gulped as well and asked, Boss, why don't we settle down outside? I can build a cave abode for you in a few days. Let's continue. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he patted Big Yellow on the head. His tone was calm but unquestionable. Although Big Yellow cursed internally, it could only grit its teeth and advance into the forest. Duan Tianliang followed at the back with a guarded expression. Chapter 1819, Crazy Plunder. Chapter 1819, Crazy Plunder. Su Zimo rode on Big Yellow and entered the forest slowly. Because the ancient trees were lush and covered the skies, there was almost no sunlight shining down from the forest and it was dark and quiet. The ground was filled with many branches and leaves. Stepping on them made a rustling sound that was extremely clear in this quiet environment. Big Yellow's footsteps slowed down. For some reason, there was an extremely strange aura in the forest that made one feel extremely repressed. Duan Tianliang followed behind Big Yellow with a pale expression. He looked around nervously with a layer of sweat on his forehead. The forest was extremely quiet and there were no living beings or ferocious beasts. However, Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang felt increasingly uneasy. Snap! Suddenly, a crisp sound came from beneath Duan Tianliang's feet, sounding extremely piercing in the forest. Duan Tianliang froze and looked down instinctively. He was stepping on a broken white bone. The white bone seemed extremely fragile after countless years and broke into two with a single step. The white bone was covered by many leaves earlier on. Duan Tianliang was focused on his surroundings and did not notice what was beneath his feet. It's fine, it's fine. Duan Tianliang composed himself and forced a smile. He whispered and continued walking forward. However, he had barely taken 2 steps when the sound of bones cracking sounded beneath his feet once more. He had stepped on another white bone. Duan Tianliang's expression changed. "Boss, wait a moment." Duan Tianliang said softly and looked around. He conjured hand seals and waved his sleeves, creating a few cyclones that blew away the fallen leaves on the ground. When Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow saw the leaves floating, their expressions changed starkly. The ground in the forest was filled with endless white bones. "Pust!" Duan Tianliang gasped. What sort of a dangerous place was it for so many living beings to die? "BB boss, let's retreat." Duan Tianliang's voice was trembling slightly. Before he could speak, Big Yellow could no longer withstand the fear. Even without Su Zimo's order, he had already begun to retreat. However, he had only taken a few steps when he realized that his escape path was completely sealed. As though they were alive, the initially motionless branches intertwined and sealed their retreat like thick spirit snakes. Suddenly, a blood stench emanated from the ancient trees. Faint patterns that resembled blood vessels appeared on the surface of the ancient tree with fresh blood flowing within. "It's over. This is where I die." Duan Tianliang was horrified and despaired. The ancient trees in this forest grew by devouring living beings. There were all sorts of things in the trichiliocosm. This forest stood here and had devoured countless ferocious beasts over the years. Any ferocious beasts that fell into it and could not get out alive would be devoured cleanly by them. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had a calm expression as he rode on Big Yellow. His spirit perception was way too strong. Before entering the forest, he had already sensed that there was something strange about it. The scene before him was within his expectations as well. As the jade-green branches coiled towards Su Zimo, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow, Su Zimo suddenly spoke. "Cultivation is not easy for the Flora race." Su Zimo said slowly, "I don't want to destroy your cultivation. Don't make things difficult for me either." Many branches paused for a moment. Thereafter, a mocking emotion was released from the ancient trees. Even Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang could sense it. The next moment, even more branches tore through the air and coiled towards Su Zimo like jade-green snakes. "Since that's the case, you can't blame me." Su Zimo floated down from Big Yellow's body and stomped on the ground, channeling his blood chi as though he had vanished. In his place was a jade-green lotus that soared into the skies. It was filled with a resplendent glow that illuminated the skies in a bedazzling manner. Instantly, the many tree branches paused, as though they had realized something. They exuded immense fear and shrank instinctively. The ancient trees swayed as though they were trembling. "Absorb." Su Zimo channeled his blood chi and countless roots and branches extended from his feet into the ground, coiling around the ancient trees in the forest and absorbing their life essence wildly. The creation green lotus was the only one in the world and was a god of the Flora race. Back in Tianhuang mainland, experts of the blood vine race wanted to devour Su Zimo's bloodline but were devoured instead. These ancient trees were far inferior to the blood vine race. This was essence chi absorption. If the Flora race grew at the same time, powerful plants would absorb the essence of other plants. For example, in the spirit fields, the spirit farmers had to weed often because they were worried that the weeds would absorb the essence chi of the essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower and affect the growth of the two immortal herbs. But now that a grade 9 creation green lotus was absorbing the surrounding essence chi wildly in the forest, the ancient trees could not defend against it at all. Right in front of Big Yellow and Duan Tianliang, the dense branches that extended towards them were the first to wither and fall. Immediately after, the surrounding towering ancient trees turned yellow bit by bit and their life force drained rapidly. Initially, the forest was like a ghastly green ocean. However, before long, the ghastly green ocean began to turn yellow and eventually extended to the entire forest. In the withered yellow ocean, only the middle region shone with a resplendent glow. There was a creation green lotus that shone brightly. Unlike cultivators of Tianhuang mainland, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had not heard of the legend of the creation green lotus. However, at that moment, both of them realized that the green lotus before them was definitely a heaven-defying existence. Within a few hours, the forest withered completely. All the ancient trees died after Su Zimo absorbed their essence chi. Su Zimo's figure reappeared and he let out a long breath. After absorbing and refining the essence chi in the forest, his cultivation realm had improved significantly as well. The creation green lotus was way too domineering. If he did not control it and allowed the green lotus true body to absorb the surrounding flora essence to grow and cultivate, all the flora in the entire Dragon Abyss star would be devoured by him. Of course, Su Zimo did not dare to cause such a huge commotion. Duan Tianliang was long dumbfounded. Big Yellow stood at the side and shivered as well. Initially, he was thinking of an opportunity to escape. But now, he had already given up on that thought. The handsome scholar before him was a complete fiend and could refine him with a single thought. His outcome would probably be similar to the withered trees around them. Chapter 1820, Silver Giant. Chapter 1820, Silver Giant. The three of them continued deeper into the desolate lands. The desolate lands were a place where various living beings and races gathered. Apart from various ferocious beasts, there were also some strange and powerful races. This area was extremely chaotic with all sorts of beings fighting one another. Almost no human cultivators were willing to step foot into this place. Right now, the combination of Su Zimo, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow was extremely unique when they arrived in this area and attracted the attention of many living beings. However, back when Su Zimo absorbed and refined the forest, there was quite a commotion and many living beings witnessed it. The living beings with lower cultivation and combat strength did not dare to advance and provoke them rashly, they merely followed from afar. As Su Zimo ventured deeper, the strength of the ferocious beasts he encountered increased as well. Along the way, many ferocious beasts had already gathered in the vicinity. There were hundreds of them and more were gathering, surrounding Su Zimo and the others. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had witnessed Su Zimo's methods before. However, they still felt nervous and shivered after experiencing such a scene. The ferocious beasts and living beings before him were unlike the forest earlier on. There were many ferocious beasts here that even Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow had not seen before. In the skies ahead, a gigantic bird floated. It was scarlet red and burned with flames. It had 9 heads and emitted a scorching aura. Although they were thousands of feet apart, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow could still feel waves of heat surging towards them. The 9-headed bird glared at Su Zimo and the other two with evil intentions. In fact, scorching lava was dripping from its body in an extremely terrifying manner. On the other side, a tall ferocious beast stood proudly among the demon beasts. This ferocious beast had the body of a horse and the face of a man and seemed like the legendary pure-blooded ferocious beast, the Ying Zhao. An ear-piercing buzzing sound came from behind the three of them. Duan Tianliang turned back and his heart skipped a beat. Not far behind the three of them, there was a gigantic bee that was several times larger than him. Its wings flapped rapidly in midair and buzzed. A poison needle protruded from the tail of the gigantic bee. It was like a long spear that shone with a ghastly green glow and emitted a foul stench. It was clearly filled with toxins. All three ferocious beasts were at the level 5 Black Essence realm. Similar ferocious beasts were gathering in the surroundings. Most of the ferocious beasts did not have high cultivation realms, and many of them were grade 1 to 4 black demons. However, if those ferocious beasts swarmed forward, even those who were at the level 5 or 6 Black Essence realm might not be able to defend against them. The three of them could be torn into pieces instantly. This will do. Su Zimo looked around. If they continued deeper, there was a high chance that they would encounter even stronger living beings. Furthermore, they were already far away from the major factions and no one should discover them. Screech. The 9-headed bird at the front roared into the skies and its 9 heads let out a long cry at the same time. It was extremely ear-piercing and almost penetrated through metal and rocks. The surrounding ferocious beasts roared one after another with menacing expressions. It was as though they were about to charge forward at the next moment. Duan Tianliang's face was pale as a sheet as he trembled and took out a round black ball from his storage bag, almost crying. Big Yellow was so scared that its legs went limp and it nearly collapsed to the ground. Right then, Su Zimo stood up slowly and floated in midair, emitting a shuddering aura. That aura was completely different from the creation green lotus from before. Berserk, ferocious, scorching and noble. After that aura was released, the surrounding demons revealed lost expressions. The 9-headed bird, Ying Zhao, and the gigantic bee were bewildered as well. Suddenly, Su Zimo's gaze intensified as he opened his mouth. Roar. A roar that shook the world and shocked all the demons burst forth and spread through the surroundings. It resembled a dragon's roar and phoenix's cry and contained a supreme will that was unstoppable. Against that roar, some demon beasts with weak bloodlines and low cultivation realms could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground. That was the roar of the taboo dragon phoenix. Even the descent of a divine dragon was enough to intimidate the demon beasts before them, let alone a dragon phoenix. Although the 9-headed bird, Ying Zhao, and gigantic bee were at level 5 Black Essence realm and could maintain their composure, the aura that Su Zimo exuded gave the three ferocious beasts immense pressure. It was a bloodline suppression. No matter how strong a rooster was, it could not defeat a phoenix. No matter how fierce a cat was, it would tremble in fear at the sight of a ferocious tiger. This was a bloodline suppression. Although Su Zimo did not have the dragon phoenix bloodline, his essence spirit contained the dragon phoenix essence spirit and could release its will. That will was enough to shock most demons. Scram! Just as the 9-headed bird and the other demons hesitated and stopped in their tracks, a loud roar sounded from afar. A living being was charging over in huge strides as it spoke in human tongue. Boom! 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 The ground shook. On the distant horizon, an incomparably tall giant was sprinting over. It had no eyes, nose, or mouth. The giant shone with a silver luster, as though it was made from molten steel. It was filled with a metallic luster and looked invulnerable. That's the giant race. Duan Tianliang was shocked and said hurriedly, in my minor kiliacosm, the giant race was the strongest race and dominated through history. The giant race was extremely strong and could fight against the dragon race in melee combat. Judging from its silver body, it's clear that it's a silver giant with the most noble bloodline of the giant race. Duan Tianliang's spirit consciousness swept across the silver giant and his expression turned even uglier. Level 6 Black Essence Realm. To begin with, the giant race was superior to various other living beings, let alone a silver giant that was at the level 6 Black Essence Realm. They were completely doomed. When the silver giant charged over, the demons retreated one after another. Even the 9-headed bird, Ying Zhao, and the gigantic bee made way. Some demon beasts that could not dodge in time were trampled to death by the silver giant and exploded into blood mists without any corpse left. Ant, how dare you enter my territory? With a ferocious expression, the silver giant roared at Su Zimo, "I'm going to crush all of you." Silver giant with immense strength? Su Zimo's blood chi surged and he shouted fearlessly with a burning gaze, "Let's see how strong you can be." Swoosh! In a flash, Su Zimo took the initiative against the level 6 Black Essence Realm's silver giant and charged forward. The giant race is clumsy and their movement techniques are not agile enough. Wrap around and don't fight him head-on. Duan Tianliang shouted hurriedly, but it was too late. Su Zimo had already attacked. "You must have a death wish." Enraged, the silver giant extended its silver palm and slapped Su Zimo viciously. Big Yellow winced and bared its teeth as though it could see Su Zimo turning into a blood mist. Duan Tianliang narrowed his eyes as well and did not even dare to look. Chapter 1821, Kneeling Demons. Chapter 1821, Kneeling Demons. The silver giant spread his palm and covered the skies. Against the attack of the silver giant, Su Zimo clenched his fists and his blood chi surged. He attacked with all his might and released a punch. Su Zimo did not release any movement techniques to deal with the silver giant. He merely wanted to test which level he could arrive at with his level 4 Black Essence Realm and grade 9 Green Lotus True Body. Boom! A loud bang sounded in midair. Immediately after, the silver giant took a step back and almost fell. All the demons were in an uproar. In the eyes of many ferocious beasts and living beings, Su Zimo was as insignificant as a speck of dust compared to the silver giant. However, that speck of dust was the one that forced the silver giant back when it collided with his palm. What sort of power was that? A look of shock flashed through the eyes of the silver giant as well. Even he had not expected the ant before him to release such a ferocious power. Boss isn't dead? Duan Tianliang opened his eyes in disbelief. Woof! 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 Big Yellow was delighted as well and cried out to boost Su Zimo's morale. He had long been tied together with Su Zimo for good or ill. If Su Zimo could win this battle, he could survive as well. If Su Zimo was defeated, he would be torn into pieces by these ferocious beasts that were coveting them greedily. That's all there is to your strength. Standing in midair, Su Zimo looked at the silver giant not far away with an indifferent expression. Die! The silver giant roared and strode forward. His gigantic feet stomped on the ground and he clenched his fists, punching towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo was fearless and charged forward once more. Boom! The fists collided and the world shook. The silver giant retreated once more. Su Zimo did not give the silver giant any breathing room at all and attacked consecutively with the terrifying regeneration capabilities of his Green Lotus True Body. Bang! 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 The silver giant retreated continuously and shuddered. The demons were dumbfounded. The silver giant was the overlord of this area and even the 9-headed bird, Ingzhao, and gigantic bee were under his jurisdiction. To think that the level 6 Black Essence Realm's silver giant would be disadvantaged and suppressed completely. However, all the demons could tell as well. Although Su Zimo had the upper hand, it was almost impossible for him to kill the silver giant. While the silver giant retreated repeatedly, his body was indestructible and shone with silver light. He was almost completely uninjured. You do have some tricks up your sleeves. The silver giant could still speak in the battle and grinned. However, that's all there is to your strength. You can't hurt me at all. At this point of the battle, Su Zimo had already tested the waters. At the level 4 Black Essence Realm, if the grade 9 Green Lotus True Body channeled his blood chi, his strength would definitely be comparable to someone of the level 6 Black Essence Realm. Right now, the silver giant was a special living being. If it was any other cultivator, the full power of the Green Lotus True Body might even be able to suppress a grade 6 Black Immortal. At that thought, Su Zimo no longer wanted to get entangled with the silver giant. The silver giant attacked once more and threw a punch towards Su Zimo. Swoosh! Suddenly, a green light flew out from Su Zimo's glabella. A bronze square tripod that was 5 feet tall appeared. 3 sides were shattered and only one side was intact, emanating an ancient and mysterious aura. Are we going to use our dermic treasures? The silver giant burst into laughter. The fist of our giant race is the strongest weapon. The silver giant was not wrong. The silver light that circulated around his body could even defend against the power and sharpness of most dermic treasures. The golden giants of the giant race had even more terrifying bloodlines. The golden light that emanated from their bodies could even condense into weapons to kill their enemies. Su Zimo's expression was cold and he did not argue. Without a second word, he raised the bronze square tripod and smashed it towards the silver giant's fist. Crack! An ear-piercing sound of bones cracking could be heard. Howl! Immediately after, the silver giant's expression changed and he let out a tragic cry. He clutched his wrist and staggered in retreat. The demons could clearly see that the fist of the silver giant had caved in from the bronze square tripod and was mangled. Why, your lousy tripod! The silver giant glared at the battered bronze square tripod in Su Zimo's hands and his bell-like eyes were filled with fear. Suppress! Su Zimo hollered and raised the bronze square tripod, smashing it towards the silver giant once more. The silver giant wanted to dodge backwards. However, his figure was massive and his movement technique was not agile enough. How could he dodge? Helpless, the silver giant could only raise his arm to defend. Crack! The sound of bones cracking echoed once more. The arm of the silver giant was snapped by the bronze square tripod. The shattered bones were stained with silver blood and flesh, revealing a shocking sight. Ah! The silver giant roared in pain. Su Zimo tossed his palm and the bronze square tripod arrived above the silver giant's head. As long as his spirit consciousness moved, the bronze square tripod would smash down. At that time, a bloody hole would appear on the head of the silver giant. Submit or die. Su Zimo's tone was cold and domineering, not giving the silver giant any other choice. I'm from the giant race. I'm from the giant race. The silver giant had an indignant expression, as though he wanted to struggle and resist. However, he did not continue and his aura weakened against Su Zimo's might. I'll submit. A moment later, the silver giant finally lowered his head and half-knelt on the ground with a thud. The demons were shocked when they saw that. The giant race would not kneel down casually. They would only kneel to their leader or the golden giants with even nobler bloodlines. Now that the silver giant chose to kneel and submit in front of all the demons, there was no way he would betray Su Zimo. Roar! Su Zimo channeled his essence spirit and suddenly opened his mouth. Against the demons, he let out another dragon phoenix roar with a torrential aura. Previously, the silver giant was extremely far away and could not truly sense the aura of the roar. It was only then that the silver giant's heart skipped a beat as he raised his head with fear in his eyes. The aura and bloodline of this seemingly tiny human seemed to be even nobler than him. The demons bowed their heads against the roar of the dragon phoenix. Led by the 9-headed bird, Ing Zhao, and the gigantic bee, hundreds and thousands of ferocious beasts and demons lowered their heads and knelt towards Su Zimo in midair. At that moment, Su Zimo seemed to be the master of all demons. It was an extremely shocking sight. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow were dumbfounded. Under such circumstances, for some reason, Duan Tianliang could not control his legs and knelt on the ground. Big Yellow was already sprawled on the ground obediently, wagging its tail and looking at Su Zimo with a pandering expression. Chapter 1822, 10 Years. Chapter 1822, 10 Years. Su Zimo settled down in the desolate lands and opened up a spirit field nearby for Duan Tianliang to manage. Under normal circumstances, the rain frost flower and essence nourishing grass on the dragon abyss star ripened once every 100 years. However, as long as the green lotus true body absorbed heaven and earth essence chi to cultivate, it would attract extremely rich essence chi towards this place. The two immortal herbs would ripen within a year. The other ferocious beasts, including the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ingzhao, and the gigantic bee, obeyed Su Zimo's orders and surrounded the area with demonic qi. Even if someone passed by this place, it would be difficult for them to notice that such a sanctuary was hidden among the demons. After settling everything, Su Zimo entered seclusion cultivation. This time round, he had benefited immensely after killing 500 evil wolf army soldiers and Shadow of Blood Sun Valley and the others. There were close to 40,000 essence condensation pills alone. Su Zimo was prepared to absorb and refine all 40,000 essence condensation pills before making further plans. Under normal circumstances, the medicinal effect of an essence condensation pill was enough for ordinary black immortals to cultivate for more than 10 days or even a month. That would depend on the cultivation realm of the black immortal and the cultivation techniques they cultivated as well as their talent. For example, Duan Tianliang was only a grade 2 black immortal. One essence condensation pill was enough for him to cultivate for more than 2 months. Although Big Yellow was a grade 5 black immortal, it would take him more than 20 days to absorb the medicinal effects of an essence condensation pill completely. However, it was different for Su Zimo. This was the first time that Su Zimo had consumed an essence condensation pill to cultivate after arriving at the Dragon Abyss Star. During his cultivation, he was shocked to discover that the green lotus true body was like a bottomless pit, absorbing heaven and earth essence chi wildly and refining the medicinal effects of the essence condensation pills. There was no need to worry about his grade 9 green lotus true body not being able to withstand absorbing too much heaven and earth essence chi. Furthermore, back in Tianhuang mainland, because he was only a mortal, it was difficult for him to change his physique rapidly even if he cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. Therefore, Su Zimo was extremely cautious and merely consumed perfect-grade elixirs. That was also the reason why he was able to cultivate to the extreme foundation establishment realm, second only to the eternal human emperor. But now, the grade 9 green lotus true body did not have to worry about that at all. There were indeed many impurities in the essence condensation pills. If one consumed too many of these impurities, they would definitely cause slight effects to their bodies after many years of consolidation. However, the grade 9 green lotus true body stole the creation of heaven and earth and baptized his flesh constantly. After consuming an essence condensation pill, apart from the pure medicinal effects of the essence condensation pill, all the other impurities would be purged out of the green lotus true body. Su Zimo could cultivate without any reservations. Coupled with the might of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, Su Zimo could even consume and digest 10 essence condensation pills in a day. Under such circumstances, Su Zimo's cultivation was rising steadily. While Su Zimo was cultivating, Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow obtained unimaginable benefits as well. In the vicinity, heaven and earth essence chi was extremely rich. Not only did the two immortal herbs grow 100 times faster, the cultivation speed of Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow also increased significantly. Initially, Big Yellow was by Su Zimo's side because it was shocked by his methods and did not dare to leave. But now, it would never leave even if Su Zimo kicked and punched it. It decided to stay by Su Zimo's side forever. Before long, the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ingzhao, and gigantic bee sensed something unusual and approached carefully. When the few ferocious beasts saw that Su Zimo did not object, they were secretly delighted and cultivated wildly. Time was non-existent in the mountains and cultivation was endless. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. In the past 10 years, there were much less fights in these desolate lands and it became extremely peaceful. Occasionally, there would be commotion in the surroundings but it would be suppressed rapidly by the silver giant and the other ferocious beasts. Although Su Zimo rarely appeared and was always cultivating, ferocious beasts such as the silver giant, nine-headed bird, Ingzhao, and gigantic bee were increasingly respectful towards him. The ability to gather heaven and earth essence chi was truly terrifying and beyond their understanding. In the past 10 years, their cultivation had increased significantly as well. It was even more obvious than the 100 years of cultivation they had before. Su Zimo was in seclusion in the desolate lands and did not know that Blood Sun Valley and the evil wolf army had been searching for him for the past 10 years. The evil wolf army even issued a bounty for his life. His tracks and news alone were worth 10,000 essence condensation pills. His head was worth 100,000 essence condensation pills. 100,000 essence condensation pills was enough to tempt any black immortal. Even grade 8 and 9 black immortals could not ignore that temptation. Even so, Blood Sun Valley and the evil wolf army could not find any traces of Su Zimo after a few years. Although there was some news, they were eventually verified to be fake. It was as though Su Zimo had vanished from the Dragon Abyss star. Later on, Blood Sun Valley and the evil wolf army gradually gave up. To them, there was only a single possibility why there was no trace of Su Zimo despite such a high bounty. That person was already dead. This day, a long howl suddenly sounded from the desolate lands. It was as loud as the clouds and released an extremely terrifying wail. All demons were silent. Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Silver Giant were jolted awake from their cultivation and looked over. Before long, a green-robed man walked out of the unassuming wooden house. He had refined features and an indifferent expression. It was Su Zimo. Level 5 Black Essence Realm. Duan Tianliang's spirit consciousness swept across Su Zimo and he could not help but exclaim in shock. Big Yellow and the Silver Giant released their spirit consciousnesses as well and checked Su Zimo's cultivation realm with shocked expressions. In the upper world, cultivation was measured in units of 1,000 years. There were 9 levels to the Black Essence realm. However, black immortals had a lifespan of 100,000 years. Many times, it would take 10,000 years to advance a single minor realm. Although the cultivation speed of Big Yellow, the Silver Giant and the others had increased tremendously with Su Zimo around for the past 10 years, they were far from being able to break through. Duan Tianliang was the only one who had advanced from level 2 to level 3 Black Essence realm. Nobody expected Su Zimo to become a grade 5 black immortal in just 10 years of seclusion cultivation. That's way too scary. Big Yellow and the Silver Giant looked at Su Zimo as though they were looking at a monster. That cultivation speed made everyone's scalps tingle. Duan Tianliang even began to suspect if Su Zimo was the reincarnation of an expert of the upper world. Su Zimo had a calm expression. He finally had a breakthrough after 10 years of seclusion. In the eyes of Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the others, his cultivation speed was terrifying. However, Su Zimo knew in his heart that it was because of immense resources, powerful cultivation techniques and a physique that stole the creation of heaven and earth that he was able to reach his current cultivation realm. However, in the past 10 years, his 40,000 essence condensation pills had already been expended. Chapter 1823, To Dragon Abyss City. Chapter 1823, To Dragon Abyss City. Part of the reason why Su Zimo came out of seclusion this time round was because he had a breakthrough. At the same time, it was because he no longer had essence condensation pills. In the Black Essence realm, essence condensation pills were extremely useful for cultivators. As for the Green Lotus True Body, his demand for essence condensation pills was much greater than ordinary cultivators. Although Su Zimo did not have any essence condensation pills in his storage bag, he had more than 3 million stalks of essence nourishing grass and rainfrost flower. This was what he had gathered from the evil wolf army and Shadow as well as the others of Blood Sun Valley 10 years ago. If he were to exchange all those immortal herbs in Blood Sun Valley, he could get more than 30,000 essence condensation pills in return. Of course, even if he had no feud with Blood Sun Valley, Su Zimo would definitely not head there. He had once heard Xia Qingying mention that if he could head to Dragon Abyss City, 10 immortal herbs could be exchanged for 1 essence condensation pill. More than 3 million immortal herbs meant more than 300,000 essence condensation pills. In the past 10 years, Duan Tianliang had also collected 100,000 immortal herbs from the surrounding 100 mu of spirit fields. Now that Su Zimo was out of seclusion, he was prepared to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look. What? Duan Tianliang was shocked when he heard Su Zimo's decision. Dragon Abyss City was the largest city on the entire Dragon Abyss Star and was also the only place where there were native immortals. Ever since Duan Tianliang and the others ascended to Dragon Abyss City, they were chased out and had never returned. Boss, the journey to Dragon Abyss City is long. Apart from some dangerous places, the most terrifying thing is that there are all sorts of bandits. Duan Tianliang did not continue. His meaning was clear. Although Su Zimo was a grade 5 black immortal with immense combat strength and could even fight across cultivation realms, their overall strength was still too weak. The silver giant, 9-headed bird and other ferocious beasts could only step foot into an area occupied by cultivators as mounts. If they appeared rashly, all the cultivators could kill them even without any reason. There were way too many black immortals on the Dragon Abyss Star that were stronger than the silver giant and the 9-headed bird. Duan Tianliang said, I remember that about 1,000 years ago, when the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge had just broken through to grade 6 black immortal, he was also in high spirits and wanted to head to Dragon Abyss City. To think that he would encounter bandits along the way. Snow Wind Ridge suffered immense losses. The territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge only managed to survive and return because Blood Sun Valley arrived in time. Pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, the three of us are the only ones heading to Dragon Abyss City this time round. Our group is too small a target and shouldn't attract attention. The danger will be much less as well. Su Zimo looked at Big Yellow. You should know the way to Dragon Abyss City, right? Big Yellow nodded hurriedly. All these years, he had followed the Blood Sun Valley army to Dragon Abyss City. That path was relatively safer. Blood Sun Valley was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star after all, and almost no bandits dared to provoke their army. When they saw the flag of Blood Sun Valley from afar, many bandits retreated against the threat of them. Let's go. Su Zimo said, let's go now. Rather than dawdle here, he might as well head to Dragon Abyss City as soon as possible to broaden his horizons. Dragon Abyss City could be said to be the center of the Dragon Abyss Star. That was the only place that could resolve many of Su Zimo's doubts over the years. When Duan Tianliang saw that Su Zimo was determined, he did not dare to persuade further and could only grit his teeth and follow behind Su Zimo. This time round, Su Zimo even specially had Duan Tianliang ride on the Ying Zhao and took out an inferior black-grade dermic treasure from his storage bag to give to the latter. Instantly, Duan Tianliang beamed and swept away the doubts in his heart. Boss, even if it's a mountain of blades or a sea of flames ahead, I'll accompany you, let alone Dragon Abyss City. Duan Tianliang patted his chest excitedly. The 2 men and 2 beasts did not linger in the desolate lands and left for Dragon Abyss City. Big Yellow carried Su Zimo and led the way. After a few days, Su Zimo's group of 4 passed by Snow Wind Ridge and looked from afar. There had not been much changes to Snow Wind Ridge in the past 10 years. Standing from afar, one could still see the scene of spirit farmers and guards patrolling. Without any delay, Su Zimo rode on Big Yellow and continued around Snow Wind Ridge. The 4 of them traveled day and night and only stopped occasionally to rest. They did not encounter any trouble along the way. Some of the bandits had already retreated quietly when they saw the aggressive level 5 Black Essence realm Ying Zhao. This day, Su Zimo's group of 4 arrived before a mountain range. Not far ahead, the mountains were lush and rose and fell endlessly like a green ocean. This is the 100,000 Mountains. Over the years, Big Yellow's current body had become accustomed to human tongue again as it spoke. It'll take about 10 days to cross the 100,000 Mountains. Many bandits like to ambush cultivators in the 100,000 Mountains. Duan Tianliang said, I heard that there are many ferocious beasts and living beings here. Big Yellow said, indeed, there are many. However, many years ago, the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley led the army of Blood Sun Valley and killed many ferocious beasts and living beings in the 100,000 mountains, opening up a path of blood. Basically, no ferocious beasts or living beings would dare to step foot on this path of blood. That's why it's much safer. Su Zimo nodded and patted Big Yellow on the head. Let's go. After searching the vicinity for a while, Big Yellow finally found a mark and burrowed in. After a few turns, the path ahead opened up. A road filled with blood chi led deep into the mountains with corpses strewn beneath its feet. It was unknown how many ferocious beasts and living beings died in that battle back then. On both sides of the blood path, ancient trees stood tall and it was dark. Su Zimo's group of 4 advanced on the blood path. After walking for about a day, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he exerted strength in his legs and kicked Big Yellow's stomach. Big Yellow understood and stopped in its tracks hurriedly. The Ying Zhao had followed Su Zimo for many years and seemed to have realized something as well. Stopping in its tracks, it released its spirit consciousness and surveyed its surroundings warily. Su Zimo narrowed his gaze slightly and looked at the dense forest on both sides of the blood path ahead in silence. Before long, a rustling sound came from the forest ahead. Immediately after, figures flashed. In the blink of an eye, at least a few hundred people appeared from the forest on both sides of the blood path, glaring at Su Zimo's group of 4 with hostile expressions. At the front of the blood path, 3 figures rode on menacing ferocious beasts and walked out slowly from the dark forest. The ferocious beast looked like a ferocious tiger with gigantic feet and sharp claws. However, it was silent when it stepped on the ground. There were 2 men and a woman. The person in the middle was a burly man with short hair and a beard. He was at the level 7 Black Essence realm and wielded a gigantic axe. His upper body was half naked and his muscles bulged like rocks, looking filled with strength. The man and woman beside the short-haired burly man looked young. Even so, the man and woman were both at the level 6 Black Essence realm. Most of the hundreds of figures in the forest were also grade 4 or 5 Black Immortals. Chapter 1824, Prisoners. Chapter 1824, Prisoners. That was quite a lineup. Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Ying Zhao were secretly alarmed. There was not a single grade 7 Black Immortal in the entire Snow Wind Ridge. Furthermore, apart from the short-haired burly man in the lead who was a grade 7 Black Immortal, the other cultivators were not weak either. A grade 5 and 3 Black Immortal dares to enter the 100,000 mountains? The person who spoke was the young man on the left of the short-haired burly man, a grade 6 Black Immortal. The young man wore black martial arts attire and a long sword hung on his waist. He had honed brows and eyes that looked sharp, revealing a hint of contempt in his tone. Who are you guys? Where are you from? The young woman on the right of the short-haired burly man frowned slightly as she chided. This woman was also a grade 6 Black Immortal. She wore a red shirt and her long hair was tied up, giving off an extremely neat and heroic aura. The short-haired burly man did not say anything. However, there was an extremely oppressive might in his eyes as he glared at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang. Su Zimo cupped his fists gently through the void. My surname is Su and I've just ascended to the Dragon Abyss Star not long ago. I haven't joined any faction and I want to head to Dragon Abyss City to take a look today. Please show mercy. Su Zimo was not showing weakness, nor was he hiding anything. The group of people opposite him were not weak. If they were to really fight, he would naturally be fearless. However, Duan Tianliang, Big Yellow and the Ying Zhao might not be able to survive. It would naturally be for the best if everything could go smoothly. More importantly, Su Zimo had a feeling. Although the group of people blocking their way looked like bandits, their auras were vastly different from those of the evil wolf army. To be precise, the group of them did not have a strong blood stench. Fu. The black-robed young man laughed and mocked. How dare you guys? You want to head to Dragon Abyss City alive with that cultivation? The red-robed woman nodded as well. There's still a long way to go. Even if we let you guys pass, you won't be able to reach Dragon Abyss City alive. If you want to head to Dragon Abyss City alive, you'll have to be at least at level 7 Black Essence Realm. You guys are still far from that. The black-robed young man pouted. Let me give you guys a piece of advice. It's best if you return the way you came. At the very least, you can survive. Duan Tianliang and Big Yellow were delighted when they heard that. From the looks of it, the other party had no intention of robbing them or taking their lives. Duan Tianliang sent a voice transmission hurriedly. Boss, let's retreat. This truly won't work. Let's retreat first and try another path. A strange look flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Neither the black-robed young man nor the red-robed woman had any intention of looting their storage bags. Although the black-robed young man's expression was disdainful and his words were harsh, he was still advising them out of goodwill to leave. Were they bandits? However, if they were not bandits, what were they waiting for with such a massive formation? Brother, have you heard of Blood Sun Valley? Right then, the short-haired burly man glared at Su Zimo and suddenly asked. Su Zimo was slightly stunned before nodding. Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. Naturally, I've heard of them. For some reason, the black-robed young man and red-robed woman suddenly became alert and looked at Su Zimo warily. Big brother, you sure are attentive. Given how strange that green-robed cultivator is, there's indeed a high chance he's from Blood Sun Valley. The black-robed young man sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. The red-robed woman looked at the short-haired burly man as well and sent a voice transmission. Could those two be spies sent by Blood Sun Valley? If that's the case, we can't let them leave. The short-haired burly man nodded slightly and suddenly declared, we want to do something big here. However, your identity and background are truly suspicious. To be safe, I'll have to trouble you guys to stay first. Duan Tianliang's heart skipped a beat as he said hurriedly, brother, you can't do that. You guys just agreed to let us leave. Why are you reneging on your words? When the black-robed man saw how nervous Duan Tianliang was, he was even more guarded and sneered, I was almost fooled by you. Earlier on, I was the one who asked you guys to leave. However, my older brother did not agree to it and neither did our brothers around us. After saying that, many cultivators from the forest on both sides of the blood path closed in on Su Zimo and the others, surrounding them with unfriendly expressions. The short-haired burly man smiled. Brother Su, you don't have to be nervous. I'm only keeping you guys by my side. I won't kill or rob you guys. Once today's matter is over, I'll naturally let you guys leave. For now, I'll have to impose on you guys. When he heard that, Duan Tianliang's expression softened and he heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, he managed to survive. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had a calm expression. However, the confusion in his heart intensified. The short-haired burly man pondered for a moment before saying to the red-robed woman beside him, little sister, suppress them and guard them personally. Pausing for a moment, a murderous glint flashed through the short-haired burly man's eyes as he said in a deep voice, if those two men or beasts make any strange movements, don't show mercy. Kill them without mercy. To the short-haired burly man, the only way to ensure that nothing went wrong with Su Zimo's group was if they were guarded by a grade 6 black immortal. Don't worry, big brother. The red-robed woman nodded with a resolute gaze. Duan Tianliang stole a glance at Su Zimo. With a relaxed expression, Su Zimo smiled. Let's go. To think that we would be reduced to prisoners so quickly. Su Zimo had no intention of resisting for the time being. He wanted to see the background of this group of people and what they wanted. When the red-robed woman saw how cooperative Su Zimo was, she did not make things difficult for them and merely brought them to a forest far away, watching them from the side. The short-haired burly man looked at Su Zimo's back view and frowned slightly in deep thought. Big brother, did you discover anything? The black-robed young man asked. The short-haired burly man shook his head. No, I just feel like I've seen this person somewhere before. He looks familiar. Strange. The black-robed young man added hurriedly, I had the same feeling earlier on, but I can't remember where I've seen him before. Forget it, we'll talk about this later. Let's hide first and not expose our tracks. The short-haired burly man took a deep breath and waved his hand, shouting softly, retreat. The moment he said that, hundreds of figures disappeared rapidly into the forest on both sides of the blood path. They were extremely fast and disciplined. In a few breaths, the blood path returned to normal. The red-robed woman glared at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang and whispered, no matter what you see later on, don't make a sound. Otherwise. Slapping her storage bag, the red-robed woman withdrew a cold saber and pointed it at Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang. Her meaning was clear. Duan Tianliang's head nodded repeatedly like a chick pecking at rice. Su Zimo merely smiled without saying anything. Chapter 1825, Massive Battle. Chapter 1825, Massive Battle. Time slowly passed. Both sides of the blood path were silent and sinister, filled with a faint killing intent. Night descended. Guarded by many bandits in the forest, Su Zimo was not as nervous as Duan Tianliang. He had a calm expression, as though he could not sense any danger and had been resting with his eyes closed. Even the red-robed woman was surprised. I wonder if he's truly courageous or heartless. The red-robed woman muttered internally. Suddenly, Su Zimo opened his eyes and the divine light in them shone brightly before vanishing. Calm. Sensing something, the red-robed woman was instantly on guard. Gripping the saber in her hands tightly, she glared at Su Zimo and whispered, what are you doing? Someone's here. Su Zimo said softly. The red-robed woman frowned slightly and did not dare to use her spirit consciousness to check, afraid that she would alert the enemy. She listened for a moment but did not hear anything. Her expression darkened as she whispered, you had better behave yourself and not play any tricks. If you continue to spout nonsense, don't blame me for spilling your blood on the spot. Su Zimo smiled and did not argue. Another 15 minutes passed. Suddenly, the red-robed woman's expression changed. She sensed a commotion in the distance. Many cultivators were rushing over. Right then, the short-haired burly man and black-robed young man turned around and nodded slightly at the red-robed woman. The short-haired burly man and black-robed young man had clearly sensed it as well. Suddenly, the red-robed woman recalled something and glanced at Su Zimo with a bewildered expression. That was because 15 minutes ago, that person suddenly reminded her that someone was here. But, how was that possible? Calm. This person was only a grade 5 black immortal, but he had such terrifying hearing. However, if that person had not sensed it beforehand, could it have been a coincidence? Suddenly, the red-robed woman felt that the green-robed man seemed to be shrouded by a layer of fog and became unfathomable. Su Zimo looked straight, seemingly unmoved by the red-robed woman's scrutinizing gaze. Before long, an irregular vibration came from the ground far away. This time round, even Duan Tianliang noticed it. About 1,000 people. The red-robed woman listened carefully and made a judgment before relaxing her expression. This situation was similar to the news they had received previously. If nothing went wrong, today's matter would definitely succeed. Su Zimo shook his head gently and said softly, more than that. What? The red-robed woman was stunned. Before she could understand the meaning of Su Zimo's words, the blood path not far ahead was already filled with figures. The army of more than 1,000 people had already entered everyone's line of sight. Duan Tianliang's eyes widened when he saw the war flag of the army through the forest. Big Yellow was shocked as well. It was the war flag of Blood Sun Valley. Even Su Zimo was slightly surprised. He had not expected that the red-robed woman's group would harbor designs on Blood Sun Valley. Blood Sun Valley was one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. Typically, even the 4 great bandits would not engage the 8 factions in a fight casually. Su Zimo's eyesight was extremely strong and he could clearly see the appearances of the cultivators in the army. Their leader was someone he was familiar with, Blood Sun Valley's young master, Qin Xianyang. After 10 years, Qin Xianyang was still at grade 6 Black Immortal. Qin Xianyang wore white armor and wielded a long spear. He rode on a tall horse and looked extremely dignified. An older old man followed beside Qin Xianyang. The old man was barehanded and did not wear any armor. He wore a gray robe and had a calm expression as his hair that was half black and white fell casually. The old man was a grade 7 Black Immortal. From the looks of it, the army led by Qin Xianyang was prepared to head to Dragon Abyss City. The strength of both parties seemed similar. As Qin Xianyang approached the ambush spot of the short-haired burly man and the others, the red-robed woman became extremely nervous as well. She looked at Qin Xianyang's side while glaring at Su Zimo. The red-robed woman had a stern gaze and warned Su Zimo not to move or make any sound. Suddenly, the short-haired burly man raised his arm and hollered, "Kill!" Swoosh! 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 Many cultivators who were lying in ambush in the forest suddenly threw out the spears in their hands with all their might. They tore through the air with a shuddering sound. The spears arrived at the same time and shot towards the Blood Sun Valley army in the middle of the blood path like a rain of arrows. Qin Xianyang's lips curled slightly with a mocking look in his eyes. The old man beside him suddenly hollered. The army of more than 1,000 people from Blood Sun Valley seemed to be prepared and changed formations rapidly, forming a gigantic circle. The cultivators of Blood Sun Valley at the outermost perimeter withdrew gigantic shields from their storage bags and held them in front of them. Some of the Blood Sun Valley cultivators in the middle raised their shields above their heads. With that, the army of Blood Sun Valley formed an impenetrable defensive formation. With a series of clanging sounds, the Blood Sun Valley army blocked all the spears. A few of the spears that were aimed at Qin Xianyang were deflected by him with a relaxed wave of his hands. Su Zimo shook his head gently. It was clear from the current situation that Blood Sun Valley was long prepared. If the short-haired burly man and the others continued attacking, they would most likely be surrounded by Blood Sun Valley. The wisest choice right now was to lead everyone to retreat. A hesitant look flashed through the short-haired burly man's eyes when he saw how quickly Blood Sun Valley reacted. His rationality told him that his plan had failed. However, the arrow was already on the bow and had to be released. He was indignant if he were to retreat just like that. Just as he was hesitating, the black-robed young man beside him could not hold it in any longer and took the lead to charge forward, shouting, "Brothers, kill! Take revenge for the dead! We'll make Blood Sun Valley pay with blood. Let Blood Sun Valley pay with their blood." The blood of many cultivators surged and they couldn't care less as they charged out of the forest towards the army of Blood Sun Valley. When the short-haired burly man saw that, he could only roar and charge forward on his ferocious beast with his gigantic axe. The other party had a grade 7 Black Immortal. He had to get rid of the grade 7 Black Immortal. Ha 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 ha. Qin Xianyang looked at the many cultivators charging over without any fear in his eyes. Instead, he reared his head in laughter. Good timing. Sky Pillar Stronghold, Wind Cloud Gang, Honor Villa. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find you survivors. To think that you would come knocking on my door today. Today, I'll make the survivors of your 3 factions disappear from the Dragon Abyss Star. Kill! Qin Xianyang raised his spear and shouted. The old man beside him leaped up and charged towards the short-haired burly man. Chapter 1826, Where's that person? Chapter 1826, Where's that person? The black-robed young man unsheathed the sword on his back and charged towards Qin Xianyang, who was at the front, saying coldly, die, Qinxianyang. Buzz. A sword hum sounded, accompanied by chilling sword lights. The black-robed young man conjured a sword art with one hand and stabbed forward with his sword with the other. Instantly, dozens of sword lights burst forth with countless shadows. That sword technique was extremely extraordinary, and every single sword beam emitted a sharp edge. Humph. Chen Xianyang sneered with a mocking expression, the shadowless sword is truly way too weak in your hands. I'll send you to the afterlife today. He channeled his blood qi and waved the spear in his hands, causing heaven and earth essence qi to swirl around it. As though it was alive, the spear stabbed towards the black-robed young man like a spirit snake. The sword and spear collided. Cling. Clang. The sound of metal clashing echoed and sparks flew. Sword qi and spear shadows tore through the air in all directions. The moment the two of them exchanged blows, they released the most intense attacks without relenting at all. On the other side, the short-haired burly man was already exchanging blows with the gray-robed old man from Blood Sun Valley. It was clear that the short-haired burly man specialized in body tempering as he wielded a gigantic axe that could split the heavens. Every single move he made was massive, forceful and ferocious. Although the gray-robed old man did not seem like an expert, every single move he made possessed an extremely terrifying power. The gray-robed old man fought the short-haired burly man bare-handed without retreating at all. A clanging sound echoed when his palm collided with the short-haired burly man's gigantic axe. If one focused their gaze, they would discover that the gray-robed old man was wearing a pair of silver gloves that were indestructible. Even the short-haired burly man's gigantic axe could not shake them. Little cub, how long have you been at the level 7 Black Essence realm? The gray-robed old man sneered proudly, I've been at the level 7 Black Essence realm for tens of thousands of years. How dare you harbor designs on Blood Sun Valley with your puny methods? Old dog, you're old and your blood qi is weak. The short-haired burly man was not affected at all. Instead, his aura intensified as he shouted, I'm at my peak and my blood qi is strong. I can exhaust you to death even if I have to. What if we're included? Right then, two figures suddenly appeared from behind Blood Sun Valley. Their auras were terrifying and they were no different from the gray-robed old man. They were two grade 7 black immortals. Kill. The grade 7 black immortal on the left was a skinny man with shifty eyes. Wielding two daggers in both hands, the person strode in a strange manner and arrived beside the short-haired burly man in the blink of an eye. On the right was a woman with heavy makeup. She was extremely flirtatious and held a silver needle that was as thin as a cow's hair in her fingers. Standing far away, she smiled at the short-haired burly man. Even though Su Zimo and the others were far away from the battlefield, they could smell the pungent fragrance coming from the woman in makeup. This is bad. The red-robed woman's expression changed starkly as she exclaimed, it's the shadowless assassin and goddess Orchid. We've fallen into an ambush. Blood Sun Valley was long prepared. The moment she said that, a shocking change happened on the battlefield. The shadowless assassin with two daggers arrived beside the short-haired burly man and suddenly attacked. His daggers circled around the latter's body like a cyclone. The short-haired burly man was entangled by the gray-robed old man and could not divert his attention at all. He was left with no choice but to forcibly retreat. Even so, a gigantic wound appeared on his arm with fresh blood flowing. Boom! The gray-robed old man seized the opportunity and punched down. The short-haired burly man endured the pain and clashed against the gray-robed old man once more. At the same time, the short-haired burly man felt his heart skip a beat, as though a calamity was about to descend the next moment. Before he could react, a silver orchid floated before him with a pungent fragrance. Ah! The short-haired burly man was alarmed and retreated hurriedly. This was the doing of Goddess Orchid. The orchid was condensed by Goddess Orchid using silver needles. It contained poison and was extremely lethal once released. He. Goddess Orchid stood far away and laughed. Little brother Yu Hao, I showed mercy earlier on. If I really wanted to kill you, you would have been a dead man. Orchid. The gray-robed old man frowned slightly. You can have any man you want. Hurry and join forces to kill this lad. Sigh. Goddess Orchid sighed gently. I'm truly reluctant. Little brother Yu Hao, I'll give you a chance. If you're obedient, I'll spare your life. How about that? Old witch, how dare you seduce me with that attitude of yours? The short-haired burly man laughed fearlessly. Instantly, Goddess Orchid's expression darkened and turned extremely terrible. Little cub, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Let's see which of you can escape today. Suddenly, her tone changed and turned sinister. At the same time, when the black-robed young man saw the short-haired burly man in danger, he was slightly distracted and was almost stabbed by Qin Xuanyang's spear, flustered for a moment. Blood Sun Divine Spear. Qin Xuanyang seized the opportunity and suddenly attacked upon discovering the black-robed young man's opening. He spun his spear rapidly with both hands and drew arcs in midair that vaguely transformed into a blood-colored sun. Clang! When the black-robed young man's sword struck the blood-colored sun, he suddenly felt an extremely domineering power that sent his sword flying. In the blink of an eye, the black-robed young man was in danger as well. Kill! Right then, iron hooves sounded and dust billowed. A large army of cultivators rode on horses and surged over with a murderous aura. The war flag of Blood Sun Valley was extremely striking. There were 4,000 cultivators. Blood Sun Valley did not send 1,000 troops this time round, but a full 5,000. When they saw that, the hundreds of cultivators on the side of the short-haired burly man had ashen expressions and deep despair flashed through their eyes. It's over. The red-robed woman knew very well that there was a high chance that all of them would be annihilated this time round. Mistress, we can't hold them back anymore. Hurry and leave. Right then, a severely injured cultivator stumbled over and looked at the red-robed woman, saying that with the last of his strength. The red-robed woman's face was pale. Although her eyes shone with fear, her gaze quickly turned resolute as she grit her teeth. My first and second brothers are in danger. I can't escape alone. I have to save them. Just as the red-robed woman was about to leave, she seemed to have thought of something and turned around hurriedly, saying to Su Zimo and Duan Tianliang, hurry and escape, the further the better. After saying that, she was stunned. The green-robed cultivator behind her had already vanished. However, she did not notice it the entire time. Where's that person? The red-robed woman asked instinctively. Duan Tianliang blinked and pointed to the battlefield in the distance. He seems to be there. The red-robed woman suddenly turned back and looked at the battlefield. Immediately after, she saw a scene that she would never forget for the rest of her life. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.